My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. The Ontario International Airport that has no Terminal 4 is stalking. This is the guise for which is the demonic creation of amplified noise. It's not actually the sound of a plane. In the same way that there's no airport where they're taking off and rising in elevation, neither is this the sun. That's the Ontario International Airport. That is Paul Leon. That is the City of Ontario gang stalking, as is also evident through this specific environment where, again, the fake sun is in the same position it was, and it's in the same position it was at 119 when Tracy Banks is stalking in the path. Like the male that you see stalking in the parking lot, you'll reference the images that I just took seconds before. The Ontario International Airport is gang stalking, as evident through the specific environment where the fake sun's reflecting off of the same vehicle it is in the morning. This same parking lot space 18, space 19, the fake sun's reflecting. The fake sun reflecting off of objects is the evidence of the fake sun present, which is a supernatural occurrence, proving what is gang stalking by a population. That population is doing so in concert with the government under the fake sun that's in the same position after 4:30 p.m. when my images show the fake sun right here adjacent to the same tree when I'm inside of the apartment, and the fake sun is right here adjacent to the same tree at what is 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and this is where it is also in the morning at 10 o'clock, at 9 o'clock when I'm walking, and between these same two apartments, units 33 through 48, where the fake sun's reflecting off of this window after 4 o'clock in the evening, and right now it is currently 2:54, and this fake sun's not going anywhere, which is evident because when the people of the state are pacing in traffic in the same way that the City of Ontario is pacing in the sky space and plane and helicopter, the entity is keeping a fake sun as it is reflecting off of the vehicles in this parking lot after 5:03 p.m. That which was reflecting, that which was creating what is a shadow. Understand, here's a shadow here, a faint one, and here's my shadow here, a proper shadow, which would be behind you, not in front of you, a shadow that's not going to appear, again, like I've documented, at a distance away from you. You have light that's manifesting in out of nowhere on the building, and also a shadow on the building over here. So I'm going to move around, see if you can pick that up. It's appearing underneath the roof of the building as I'm moving my person. That's not sunlight. This is where the Ontario International Airport is gang stalking with all of the people that say all 144 units are being documented while Tracy Banks paces in and out of her apartment. She is monitoring with the population who are pacing. Tracy Banks' license plate is 9HUZ740. She's gang stalking with the demons. License 7FQFIVE. An engineer light moves underneath the parking structure just like they're doing well after 4 p.m. and 6Y07533, I believe. This is the black Prius. They're pacing in the parking lot. Nonetheless, the same gang stalking residents, and the fake sun is still here after 4 p.m. I'm referencing September, October 2024, and I'll reference that video. An engineer light is moving across the carport. That's the entity that is gang stalking with Tracy Banks, okay? Stalking in helicopter. You already know that the Ontario Police is relying on the population. That's gang stalking as an apartment complex, and they're gang stalking as a city. The people that stayed at 714 North Vine Avenue are living in relevant position. They're gang stalking as a way of life. The fake sun is remaining, as you can see it above my head as I'm standing at the building for apartments 33 through 48, where the fake sun is rising, where the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is gang stalking, and this fake sun is right here at this same position, where it would be reflecting off of a vehicle at the same position at 12:53 in the afternoon, when it's over this same building, units 33 through 48, at 9 o'clock in the morning, where the fake sun is rising at 7:34 in the morning. The sun is not in any position to be reflecting off of a vehicle in a manner where it would necessarily be directly above that vehicle. And also remember, the documentation is showing that it's over me in Los Angeles in the same manner. This is a population using planes and helicopters, and the fact that they are stalking is also evident. This is what I'm documenting on this day in 2024, April 7, 2024, where the Los Angeles Police Department are gang stalking in the same way you see the Ontario Police. They're engaging in surveillance with the population that's remaining at an apartment complex that is the close proximity whereby activity, pacing on Vine, pacing in the parking lot. All right, doing so while the fake sun remains over me, and while I am in Unit 51, this fake sun remains over the sidewalk, where the same demons are maintaining the elements of monitoring one body after another in vehicles and on foot, and they're pacing. Okay, this is the demon that is operating the Cooper. He's going to federal prison. The Ontario Police are gang stalking by helicopter. He's gang stalking by residents, but he's gang stalking in real time with the police department, and that's an unlawful threat to your life as well. And gang stalking with the police that are essentially commissioned to engage in murder, when they're gang stalking as police departments, that's P.O.C. F505, F50FIVE is engaged in the P.O.C. while you see the fake sun over me as I walk to this end of the parking lot. It's no longer over Tracy Banks' apartment, and neither would the sun be over this same parking lot as you see at 10 o'clock in the morning, where you're gang stalking by trade. Gang stalking while you're getting paid to engage in services. It's presence, unlawful presence, where the government has no warrant or probable cause and is relying on the criminal engagement in a citywide effort, a statewide effort, like is Los Angeles and LA at Alvarado Gardens, where I'm showing you this same phenomenon while the fake sun remains over my apartment. Over my apartment at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. And at 5 p.m., as you see the fake sun reflecting off of vehicles that are in the same parking lot, it is still, as I've documented, at 5:03 p.m. reflecting off of vehicles in the same manner, speaking to the fact that the sun is not going anywhere, which is a supernatural phenomenon. This supernatural phenomenon coexists with what is the supernatural phenomenon regarding engineer light. All right. The entity is engaging in a cooperative effort as a corrupt entity, and they are all engaging in an egregious sex offense over and under the age of majority, monitoring the genitalia of a woman whom the entity is stalking, and for no legitimate purpose at that, as a whole entire corrupt government operation. And that government operation is reliant on the gang stalking population, who are the people of the state. Those are demons that are pacing as opposed to traffic, and they know exactly who I am while the fake sun is over me. And this is the direct evidence of what is happening as you look at the documentation on this day in 2024, where at the same time of year the sun would be over somewhere in Los Angeles, over Alvarado Gardens, because that's exactly what I documented. And this requires that there be more than one sun, especially because those of you in Florida are looking up in the sky space, and that which is remaining over Woodside Senior Apartments, and at the same time of year remaining over me in Los Angeles, which is impossible to be the natural environment. There's also no sun over you. This is speaking to the P.O.C. As you see, the City of Ontario gang stalking by helicopter, the City of Ontario gang stalking by plane, the City of Ontario gang stalking by the people of the state, and Tracy Banks is gang stalking by residents in concert with the people. She is going to a mental asylum, and this is where the fake sun is at 4:30. It's captured in images, and this is an impossible occurrence as you use the objects, as you use the property itself as a landmark with regard to the gang stalking police department. That's the City of Ontario. Paul Leon is going to be removed from office. He's a violent sex offender and is one that is obsessed with me, while he is gang stalking via the City of Ontario with the population who are flying beside the fake sun. They're doing the same thing at 11:40 in the morning when the fake sun is in the same position. They're doing the same thing while flying over me while I'm inside of this apartment at 8:31 in the morning, and the fake sun's at the same address. They're doing the same thing while the fake sun is remaining over the same exact apartment building at 12 o'clock in the afternoon when DBUNI is gang stalking her black Mercedes. She lives in Unit 66. She's going to prison. And the entity is gang stalking under the same exact circumstances while the fake sun is still here at 5:57 p.m. Like you saw the demons of the Ontario PD flying in a circle over the apartment building, and this fake sun is still here at 5:57 because it's not going anywhere. This is what LAPD is doing on this day in 2024 as well. Everyone in unit, these two buildings are gang stalking on a 24-hour basis with the government, and they're going to prison and mental asylums for it. And so is Tracy Banks. Tracy Banks, license 9HUZ740, is on the property right now. That's her vehicle. All right, it's parked on the property. She is gang stalking with the Ontario police, who are maintaining 24-hour surveillance with her inside of the unit, where this fake sun has nothing to do with what is the engineered light that's appearing underneath covered structures. That's not sunlight, and neither is this the sun that's remaining present, and that's called amplified pacing with the population. These are demons who become more and more aggressive and violent. The rise in activity, the rise in aircraft gang stalking methods such as plane and helicopter, the sounding of the sirens. This is going to be the shutdown of the city of Ontario with regard to the airport, the fire department, the police department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. As you see at 12:53 p.m., the fake sun's in the same position. Shannon Dykes is engaged in a pattern of kidnapping with the corrupt city of Ontario, as is also documented. This is putting everybody in these two buildings in prison. That's called criminal summoning. And I want you to see who's going to prison. Everyone in this building. Units 33 through 48. Criminal summoning. And everyone in units 49 through 64. Criminal summoning. That's what they're doing at 12:42 p.m. Amazon Prime is gang stalking with the Ontario Fire, and all they did, that's a demon creating light activity and audible activity and relevant positioning, driving under the fake sun, which is activity creation and criminal facilitation with the police department in helicopter, with the airport in commercial planes, and with the Ontario Fire, who are doing the same thing under the same circumstances under the fake sun, as I documented at 12:42 p.m. And understand how the sirens stop after they cross path with me. That's a gang stalking fire department. Okay, Michael Gecken, he's done with being a fire department, a fire chief, excuse me. They're engaged in domestic terrorism, and they're criminally facilitating domestic terrorism and psychological torture. This is the criminal engagement of what is psychological torture practiced by an entire corrupt entity. The U.S. government's pattern of conduct is underway with the demons who are the people of the state, as you legally refer to them, and this is the body of evidence to prosecute that city, which is engaged in a statewide pattern of conduct that's practiced throughout the country, as you are able to witness it through the specific environment. The criminal use of sirens, the criminal use of helicopters and airplanes are the means whereby the government itself is engaging in what is the demonic method of surveillance. And it is also that which is satanic behaviors. Mental illness is exhibited while the demon-possessed engage in this pattern of conduct. And as you prosecuted, everybody in these two buildings are going to prison. Linda Reyes is going to federal prison. She's gang stalking with the city of Ontario. She's employed at the place of where the facilitating venue was at. And also at the same time, every employee of AVANATH Capital Management and AVANATH themselves are going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally. While the entity engages in criminal summoning, the entity engaged in doing a lap by helicopter, the entity engages in pacing by commercial planes in this video, and is doing so in an environment where you can look at what is the fake sun that's present at all hours as you compare the gang stalking entity itself that acts directly through the police, fire, and ambulance. And you can also look at the documentation with regard to the specific environment while the entity is keeping the fake sun over my apartment on this day in 2024 at Alvarado Gardens in 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, where I'm documenting the sunrise. And the next video I capture is during 4 p.m. where that fake sun is remaining over me, and LAPD has been engaged in gang stalking like that I documented all day long on this day in 2024, which is the pattern of conduct where the sun never left from being over me in Los Angeles in conformity to a pattern of conduct, because this is where the fake sun remains, okay? And that's what I've been documenting. The people of the state that are gang stalking, as evident through the specific environment, are acting with a shared unlawful measure of impunity. all right, and psychopathic personality disorders, while the system of gang stalking, which is psychological warfare by the demon possessed, who are also gang stalking with the intent to psychologically torture. This is the same entity that's interfering with the operation of the television to monitor. This is the same entity that's gang stalking via amplified audible activity inside of the apartment building. This is the entity that is gang stalking while all manner of that which they're engaging in. Traffic is amplified, the sound of the train is amplified, the sound of plane and helicopter is amplified, which is criminal interference with quiet enjoyment, while AVANATH is being prosecuted for gang stalking in the manner that you see here. 8:56 a.m., stalking in the patch just like you see here. Walking by does not create your shadow inside of apartment buildings. That's the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct with the noted impunity in that specific environment. And it is also showing severe mental illness. All right, that level of malice, those that are, again, in this country, granted the privilege to be here, they are going to be deported. They are engaging in that pattern of conduct with that noted impunity and malice while the entity is monitoring evidence in real time. And the entity gang stalking by helicopter, by plane, and by the fire department are speaking to knowledge of the fact that they are being documented, and the people of the state are still engaged relentless and obsessive endeavor to do so, exhibiting severe mental illness while they're gang stalking you and acting as though they are doing something else, and you are not doing anything other than gang stalking. And you are a violent sex offender, and the light activity is the proof of that. The fake sun remaining over the apartment building where you live and work is the proof of that. The amplified audible activity of everything that you're doing, the engineer light that you're pacing around in with the government is the proof of that, and that is the entity that's going to be prosecuted collectively. All right, that's the unlawful threat that the government poses while it's gang stalking through the very people of the state. It is currently 3:06 p.m. when you're looking at the fake sun. This is the exact same position when it's reflecting off of the same vehicles here. Okay, so the M. Cooper, that license plate, he walks into the unit over here, he's being prosecuted. He's going to federal prison, and he's going to a mental asylum, and his mental illness is exhibited by the malice whereby, and the obsession is also what's being demonstrated while gang stalking remains under the way, and the entity is being documented in real time. That is a stalker that is relentless and still stalking you, regardless of the fact that you are enforcing your rights against that stalker. That stalker is the entire city of Ontario, the state of California, and this is what the federal government is going to answer for with regard to incentivizing this corrupt system throughout the country in furtherance of committing murder and kidnapping. It is currently 3:07 p.m. Tracy Banks is going to a mental asylum for that which she is doing as a gang stalking relative. This is what Eric Corey Spencer is engaged in. He's going to federal prison while I'm documenting the city of Ontario. This is the same criminal system that he's engaged in with the police, with the fire department, with the county sheriff's department, gang stalking as a relative in furtherance of committing murder and kidnapping. This is the supernatural occurrence where the sun is remaining over me in Los Angeles for the duration of the day, and also where the fake sun, as you are aware of, this is not the sun. And then you're breaking down the environment where sun is appearing underneath a covered structure, a hovering light source that is at a lower elevation than the tree and the tree that's planted in the ground where demons are pacing on. None of this is sunlight. This is engineered light that is also inside of the apartment where you have impossible light activity, which is covering everything. And this is breaking down that illusion. The entity is doing so in an environment also. Remember, the fake sun is over this same apartment building at 9:46 in the morning, at 9 o'clock in the morning, at 7:34 in the morning. I'm at the same apartment complex, and this is the fake sun moving as I move. This is where the police, the fire department, AMR, ambulances, the population that is Woodside Senior Apartments, the people of the state, in other words, are engaged in an ongoing collective, obsessive, and psychopathic endeavor to monitor, which is an egregious sex offense, and it is the inhumane and unabated program of psychological torture for which the people of the state are going to prison for. You see AVANATH gang stalking on video. AVANATH is being civilly prosecuted and criminally prosecuted as a company, and its employees are going to prison. And that particular one resides in Unit 41, where you know the fake sun is right here over this tree at both 10 o'clock in the morning and 4:30 in the afternoon, like it is right now, and it's not going anywhere. I've documented it already. It's 3:09 p.m. right now. I've documented it right here beside the same tree after 4:30 p.m., which is an impossible occurrence. That environment is giving context regarding what you plainly saw. That was clearly the entity responding in real time, which is an admission that they're monitoring the evidence, in addition to the fact that they're already surrounded with the evidence that gang stalking is a fact, that gang stalking is also satanic, gang stalking is inhumane, and it's government action. Nobody is protected by any constitutional rights here. Okay? These are psychopaths that are over 55, and Tracy Banks is engaged in that with them. Tracy Banks is relevant with regard to a relative that is engaged in a pattern of conduct against their own, and is in a position poised to, this is not sunlight, I just want you to see it's manifesting in the shade, just so you can see. It's manifesting in the shade. This is shade out here. That's engineer light. All of this is engineer light. And you can see it more clearly when you see it just manifest out of nowhere. This is shade out here. The entity is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct of stalking with engineer light. This is the same building where the fake sun is over the same position, 1 o'clock this afternoon. You've seen it at 10 o'clock when the fake sun is on this side of the building, and yet it's reflecting off of vehicles in the same parking lot. You've seen it on in the same manner over apartment 41. That's where it is right now, while the entity engages in rising and setting it at the same address. And the entity has the fake sun at 3:10 p.m. where it is positioned at 9, 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning when I am moving, and the entity moves the fake sun over me just like it did throughout this video, where the entity included gang stalking by helicopter, gang stalking by the fire department, gang stalking by the people of the state who are residing at the unit and are engaging in that criminal effort with all of that city. It's not traffic, it's pacing, it's gang stalking by the entire city. And the city of Los Angeles is providing corroborating evidence for the prosecution of the state of California. That includes the city of Ontario. All right, the gang stalking population and everyone in units 33 through 64 are engaged in that inhumane and violent sex offense, monitoring in the bathroom inside of this private space, which is the apartment, monitoring on a 24-hour ceaseless basis while in reliance of federal housing benefits at this HUD-regulated property where you just saw the government violate the Violence Against Women Act in concert with the very population. They are all stalking in violation of the Violence Against Women Act, and they're all going to be prosecuted under that and for engaging in what is the gang stalking system, which is domestic terrorism. Everybody at this apartment and the city, the government itself, is going to be prosecuted for stalking, the unprecedented basis of violating federal stalking laws where the entity is gang stalking. It is stalking a woman in violation of the Violence Against Women Act and doing so with impunity. This same sidewalk where the fake sun is present in the morning, this is P.O.C. Not separate from what the entity is doing by helicopter, by the fire department, and pacing inside of the apartment where the engineer light remains. Did you get your face done?
I wasn't going to get my
Oh, okay. This is P.O.C. This is engineer light that is on the floor. It's not sunlight. Has nothing to do with the fake sun that is indeed outside, and everything occurring on the inside is the same satanic pattern of conduct while an occupant, a resident, engages in what the government is engaging in reliance on the demon-possessed that reside and remain at and around the venue. This is P.O.C. It's 3:12 p.m. where the fake sun remains, as you know, because I captured the fake sun after 5 p.m. outside of the same patio glass door where it is currently remaining, as you can see, at 3:12 p.m. 3 hours from now, it's still at the same venue. Reference the video at 6:18 p.m. where the entity is gang stalking, which is not the first time I've captured the fake sun setting at the same address where you see the Ontario Police, the Ontario Fire Department, and the people of the state, including AVANATH, gang stalking as a population. Just sex offenders monitoring your genitalia in concert with those who you are related to. I want to be clear, the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct with knowledge that they're being documented. And that knowledge is based on the specific environment, not because they're looking at you. P.O.C. Walking in the engineer light is monitoring. That's the mental illness exhibited but while the entity is engaged in that P.O.C. And that demon, Tracy Banks, ran around to the corner, gang stalking with the apartment complex, and aware of what it is that I'm documenting, and then enters the apartment. She didn't go anywhere. Her vehicle, like I pointed out, remains here. She is engaged in the pattern of conduct while she knows it's being documented in real time, and she is still engaging even when she is going to her place of work, wherever that is. The entity is engaging in, and she is a part of that entity, walking under the fake sun at the same exact location where it remains from sunrise until sunset, and she is indeed going to a mental asylum. It is currently 3:13 p.m. That's the malice and the impunity of, again, the removal from law enforcement, not only Mike Lorenz, but everyone employed by the Ontario Police Department. Michael Geckin, if I recollect his name is correctly, this is the fire chief. This is a terrorist organization as well. They are done with being engaged in the involvement in putting out fires. They're gang stalking in the city of Ontario, as is Alan D. Wapner. Not a legitimate airport. They're engaged in domestic terrorism. They are gang stalking as a citywide effort, a national security threat, while mentally ill and violent sex offenders are using commercial planes to gang stalk a woman, while they are also aware that that woman is enforcing their rights, meaning they're doing so because I am capturing video in order to monitor that evidence as well, speaking to obsession and severe mental illness with regard to stalking someone that the government has no legitimate interest in stalking, and to do so through the spectacular means of a whole airport. That puts aside the business of that airport for gang stalking. This is the removal of Alan D. Wapner, who is also a part of the gang stalkers that are on the Ontario City Council. That is under the corrupt and dangerous leadership of Paul Leon, who is a gang stalking mayor, where all of the city of Ontario is exhibiting its demon possession and criminal intent to obstruct justice. While their demon possession and criminal engagement, this is public corruption, is being exposed in yet another video. And that is which the people of the state, which Tracy Banks is a part of, is fully engaged in. And a psychopath walks in and out of the apartment. And this one on video, pacing with the white male who you see engaging in what is a joking manner while he is gang stalking. These are the same sex offenders that are acting together with regard to their demon possession. And their demon possession is evident through the fake sun documentation. Their demon possession is evident through the engineer light documentation. And their demon possession is evident through their very presence in the environment. You are being exposed to what is very sick and demonic beneath the surface. And on the surface, you're looking at people that walk upright on two legs, most of them, and they are conducting themselves as though you are not supposed to be aware. You're not supposed to be aware, and I'm showing you that. Not only are you being made aware, but you're going to witness me prosecute literally Satan. All right, and so this is, again, 3:15 p.m. under the supernatural occurrence of the fake sun. All right, this is the P.O.C. on Monday, April 7, 2025 at 3:15 p.m. outside of the patio glass door. P.O.C. It is currently 4:18 p.m. This is the pattern of, first of all, this is engineer light, not sunlight. And it's, you know that because this is the same framing around the same front door inside of the same, that is present on cloudy days before the fake sun rises, regardless of what side of the same front door that the fake sun remains for over 10 hours in the day. And at 4 p.m., there's no vantage point where through closed blinds and under window coverings or shooting through underneath the patio structure or anything that sunlight's going to appear in this manner. It's also on the floor and it's also rising up. And this division, this is actually coming through. This is the pattern of the window itself. The window has patterns here, these white bars separating it, but it's a supernatural occurrence that you see it. Okay, it's as supernatural as the fake sun being over the address all day long. It's as supernatural as what you've seen engineer light vacillating across the defendant Tracy Banks' apartment. It's as supernatural as my shadow appearing above my head right now. This is distinct from what is the engineer light that's appearing on the inside of the apartment. The blinds are closed and the patio outside is covered. This is, again, supernatural. Light is appearing, manifesting in the shade. The entity is controlling the television with regard to creating activity inside of the apartment where engineered light is remaining. This is ongoing criminal interference with quiet enjoyment. It's psychological torture. It's also harassment by the federal government. The entity is doing so. In the previous video, you see the Ontario Fire Department prosecuting, exposing domestic terrorism by Mike Gherkin. The Ontario Police Department exposing what is Mike Lorenz. The Ontario International Airport exposing everybody under the dangerous and corrupt leadership of Alan D. Wapner, who are gang stalking and under the fake sun that's remaining over the same apartment complex where the people of the state are indeed gang stalking by residents, where the sun's not going to be over me in this manner in the same parking lot where demons are stalking in the parking lot right now. I'm in the same parking lot at 10 o'clock in the morning and the fake sun is over me where they are. I'm in the same parking lot at 11:40 and the Ontario police are gang stalking like I documented. The reason why I'm capturing this is because you're looking at engineered light while somebody is stalking in the path in the parking lot. They're all stalking inside of their apartment buildings, but this is government action when they get presence in the path right here under the fake sun and engineered light is inside. This is the identification of surveillance, and it's also the identity of demons who know what I'm saying as well. You are aware of everything that they know and the criminal engagement of their pattern of conduct because of the specific environment and the behavioral pattern. This is engineer light. And this is not going to occur what is sunlight, meaning sunlight's not going to occur underneath a covered structure, shooting into underneath that covered structure and into the apartment. That's what you're looking at while it's coming underneath and into under the blinds. And then you have what is the engineer light that's separate, the engineer light that's filling the apartment. The floor lamp you see here, all manner of engineer light. This is the floor lamp, the shadow of it. That's absolutely impossible and demonic. As I put my hand on it here, you're looking at what is the shadow of this floor lamp. And then you're looking at demons who are stalking indeed. These are demons. and that's called stalking with light activity. Okay, 9FXJ932. The entity is under the fake sun, and this is impunity. They know that they're being documented. They do not care. They engage in the P.O.C, engaging in what is psychological torture and exhibiting mental illness as opposed to ignorance or coincidence when you're in the and amongst that supernatural phenomenon. The light activity is prosecuting the mentally ill psychos who are gang stalking demons throughout California, who are doing so with the government. And at 4:17 p.m., the fake sun's outside of my bedroom window and is not the natural environment where presence is necessary to engage in surveillance amongst a community that is also mentally ill, as federal group stalking monitoring is being exposed and prosecuted. This is where the entity is gang stalking, and the fake sun is in a position where it's still in this substantially identical position, by the way, where it's going to be reflecting off of a vehicle in the parking lot like it is now. This is what it's doing when this same fake sun is on this side of the same apartment at the same address, and it's reflecting off of the vehicles in the same the same vehicles in the same parking lot. This is what the demons are doing right now when their vehicles are moving throughout the parking lot. Another one, this is Tracy Banks, who is pacing with the population who was gang stalking. At 4:17 p.m., Tracy Banks is gang stalking me while I'm living in Los Angeles. So are the people of the state in the state of California, and that's what's going on at Woodside Senior Apartments. This is indeed 9HUZ740, who is going to a mental asylum. Engineer Light fills her apartment. She is gang stalking with an entire population. Okay, she cannot pay her rent. She's engaged in what is a lifestyle of criminal activity. Do not be impressed by demons who are violent sex offenders who still rob and engage in fraudulent acts to drive a used Mercedes Benz while she engages in incestuous sexual violence. This is somebody that is gang stalking and is doing so with knowledge of the fact that her egregious and psychotic conduct in concert with the population under a fake sun that's at the same exact time on the same day in 2024 outside of my bedroom window, which is speaking to an impossible occurrence. That impossibility is revealing what is the supernatural character of the criminal conduct of the people of the state who are demons stalking as a population. The engineered light is that which is covering everything, and this is not the sun, neither is the sunlight, okay? And that is what is the ongoing pattern of conduct. You have a multiplicity of faces as Michael Gherkin's Ontario Fire Department and Mike Lorenz's Ontario Police Department and Alan D. Wapner's Ontario International Airport, Paul Leon's City of Ontario, that is entirely engaged in the pattern of conduct, just like LAPD is doing on this day in 2024, where demons are pacing. Okay, demons are pacing while they're maintaining this light source, and this is again Tracy Banks, that is nothing other than a hitman, in the same way that her gang stalking co-defendants like Eric Spencer, this is a hitman, like Jason Isaac Fields, these are hitmen, and by hitmen I mean these are people that are positioned in your life that you have a personal relationship with, but that personal relationship is serving criminal facilitation when you're being targeted by the state, and being targeted by the state is capable of being proven in that environment that also defies nature. As opposed to what is any natural environment where nothing is suspicious and everything is constitutionally protected at a private residence. This is a facilitating venue where demons are pacing in plain view. Their presence in this environment is speaking to exact knowledge about who I am and what I'm saying. This is the same demon gang stalking with the San Bernardino County at 12:53 p.m. Okay, it is currently again 4:24 p.m. and this is a population that's amongst the supernatural and engaging in what is federal group stalking monitoring by residents, and it is the basis of federal prison, walking in an engineered light. That's P.O.C. And that's, again, mental illness, walking in the engineered light activity creation while the entity is gang stalking in planes and helicopters amongst the police, fire, and ambulance, sharing mental illness. This is where the fake sun remains, as I've already documented, after 6 p.m. Negligible movement, not moving, in other words, because it's right here at 6:18 p.m. It's already on video. Tracy Banks is nothing other than another demon-possessed person whose name I know, sharing the same criminal presence in the path, okay? Psychopaths that engage in loud, boisterous phone calls inside of the apartment where engineer light moves across her ceiling and across her cabinets and has nothing to do with the natural environment. And that is where you were looking at what is the malice and the psychopathic behavioral disorders, personality disorders of those who are indeed gang stalking, where you don't even have to have a personal relationship with the entity itself, okay? It is currently 4:25 p.m. This is where the entity is keeping the fake sun, as you're aware of the sunrise, at 7:34 at this same apartment, and you're looking at Tracy Banks exhibiting her needfulness of being placed in the mental asylum where she is going. P.O.C. That's audible activity, relevant positioning. The people of state, Vanita Jenkins, gang stalking with Tracy Banks on a communication device. This is the P.O.C. All right, it is currently 5:08 p.m. and on this day in 2024, I am maintaining documentation showing what is indeed at 6:13 p.m. The fake sun that remained over my apartment, and it is so supernatural, so extraordinary, and that which is a crucial component to the gang stalking system. This is why I sought to document it, and I've been documenting this phenomenon that follows me where I go. This is the supernatural occurrence relevant to what is psychological torture while a population that is pursuant to a government program which is unlawful in the United States and inhumane anywhere in the world amongst mankind. Gang stalking. And gang stalking is demonic activity. This demonic activity is used to psychologically torture the one who is indeed being targeted. And this is targeting by the government, and this is shown and proven and understood and put into its proper context in the environment which defies nature, such as a sun that remains over one address all day long. This is what I documented on April 7, 2024. Today is April 7, 2025. And you are able to analyze the natural environment in the ways in which meteorologists, those who study, such as where the sun is, the ecological location of the sun, which is not something that we are all observing everywhere in the United States from the exact same angle, looking at it from the same exact manner in which I am experiencing it. I'm looking up at it, and it certainly is not an idle source that would remain over one building. It's very easy to document when that one building is the building that you're inside of, and it remains over your head at that address, even to the left or the right of you while you are at that same building. That's the evidence of the supernatural environment. It is referred to as the specific environment where the federal government is exposed for what is occurring in the United States that California is practicing. As the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario International Airport, the people of the state, the civilian population who are the people of the state of California, not individual citizens, are gang stalking amongst that environment. And this is what I documented in video at what is, let you hear.
The light source that remains, it's right here. This is called crossing path. They're walking in the engineer light. This is monitoring. This is why you have what is the maintenance of a light source that's rising and then supposedly setting. This is no iteration of any natural.
And by supposedly, I mean the entity, the demon-possessed, the corrupt government that operates amongst illusions and then relies on those illusions that it asserts are facts and are reality. This is public corruption where the government is practicing witchcraft. The government is dealing in demons, engaging in demonic activity. The demon-possessed that are in positions of government. The corrupt that are engaging in sexual violence and public corruption are those who are serving Satan. And this is proof of it in that demonic environment. And these are essentially illusions. The illusion, that's why I'm using the terms that I'm using in this video, supposedly setting. It's not that I didn't document. I'm documenting you're looking at the fake sun that is indeed engaging in that which would be referred to as the sunset. It's just that the natural environment would never include that. And that's why I use such terms when you are clearly looking at what is the impossible. And this is, again, not the natural environment. This is the creating the illusion of an environment where demons are stalking, creating the illusion of First Amendment rights, the illusion of privacy, the illusion of what is the natural environment, the illusion of lawful conduct by the government, the illusion of having jurisdiction, the illusion of having what is the authority under the Constitution to adjudicate over anything concerning that gang-stalked American citizen throughout the courts in California. All right?
Environment, and you're looking at malice while a third-party group stalker is outwardly appearing as though they're just exercising, and they're actually monitoring. This is actually demonic. They're patrolling. They're walking in circles around the property, and they are not driving up the street. They're crossing path, and while one vehicle after another crosses path, it's demonic patrolling. All right, and you're looking at what is engineer light all over the property, including on this tree.
Good job. I was just going to point that out.
Attention.
I'll just let the video.
This is engineer light. It's 6:30 p.m. Excuse me, 6:13 p.m. It's now 6:14 p.m. And the entity is maintaining engineer light inside of my apartment. And so I want you to see the light source. I want you to see the engineered light that's all over the property, all over the land. All right. This is not sunlight. This is engineered light. Remember the multiple shadows. Remember the light you saw illuminated on my ceiling. That's what covers the land. This is demonic at its core. I want you to see the light source, but then I want you to see the engineered light inside of my apartment, okay? I want you to see the dynamic light that's on the wall. This is coming through closed blinds, and that light source that you see outside, it's on my pillows here. just touching surfaces. This is the presence of what is constructive presence of the state lacking any warrant or probable cause to place you under surveillance, criminal monitoring in concert with the people, all right, who are maintaining a specific environment as well, and doing so while maintaining real-time knowledge all at once of any and everything that I'm doing inside of the private space. That's the sex offense. And it is also what is occurring in that very specific environment that is maintained. This is an environment. So in other words, remember, demons are stalking in your path with light. This is occurring in the environment. So in other words, you have what are demons that are stalking in the path in light, and it's literally occurring through the environment. And this is what I mean by a population of the demon possessed. This is the secret.
All right, so currently at what is 5:14 p.m., the demon residing, gang stalking by residents, is going to a mental asylum. She is gang stalking with, as you can look at the video, I'm zooming in on the gang stalker that resides in the apartment where I've remained subject to this pattern of conduct that she is engaging in and is facilitating. She is a quote-unquote hitman where the government is targeting an American citizen. The government does so through those who have the closest relationship in concert, in addition to the entire population. But those that are closest, meaning the target individual whose name they can identify, their family members, their so-called friends and peers, even fellow church members, they're all engaged in the pattern of conduct, and it is demonic, and the entity is ceaselessly engaged in it, and there is no exception. Whether you're being gang stalked at church, which you are, or you're being gang stalked at home. Like the mental health patient in Unit 55 at 5:14 p.m., she is stalking with amplified noise. This is a demon-possessed person that's engaged in what is monitoring. And the simultaneous engagement of what is a loud boom at the same time that I press pause on this phone right now, as it's currently 5:15 p.m., and while the fake son is remaining in perfect alignment with the same apartment where she lives, gang stalking as a lifestyle. Someone over 55 with no job is gang stalking with the government, who you saw using helicopters, airplanes, and fire department vehicles to gang stalk with her and the entirety of this property. That is what is ongoing, and I want to make sure that I'm showing you this with regard to what's happening on the same day at 6:13 p.m., where the entity is gang stalking still to date at what is the current time, 5:15 p.m., and I'm going to go ahead and show that, and then I'm going to go show you what I documented at the same exact time. This is the fake son, where the mental health patients are indeed gang stalking, okay? They're doing so by residents. This is where also the fake son rises at 7:34. By presence in the path, you are living in the specific environment. The entity is doing so at what is 5:16 p.m., where this third party at Unit 41 is gang stalking with the demon above in 55, surrounding with noise, surrounding in the engineered light, surrounding on behalf of the government that has no warrant or probable cause, and they are indeed going to what are mental asylums. This same demon that you see engaging in gang stalking by residents outside is gang stalking with everyone else inside of their apartments, and doing so in the same manner where the fake son is over me while they're pacing to the dumpster at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's malice. This is the entity that does not care about losing custody of their children, that does not care about sexually violating another woman, while doing so on behalf of a government that is doing so in the first place to psychologically torture, sexually violate, and murder. That's why you're gang stalking. Okay, this is what Woodside Senior Apartments as a whole property is engaging in, and this is what is not outside of my bedroom window. This is not going to be any sunset through my bedroom window in Los Angeles on the same day at the same time. It is the P.O.C, however. It is the pattern of conduct where the entity is using communication devices as a means of activity creation. While the picture goes in and out, it's called light activity and audible activity. This psychological torture, while the entity, pursuant to the same demonic pattern, is engaging in what is the elements of monitoring. Those elements of monitoring are underway by human beings who are demon possessed. That demonic activity is underway while the entity is using communication devices inside of the home, engaging in what is use of the appliances inside of your home. This is what is people who are demon possessed, and the people happen to be the government. So the government is being prosecuted. And this is what's underway in Los Angeles. And the light source that's over building 1818, as I'm looking outside of my bedroom window at 6:13 p.m. and capturing video of it, the entity is engaging in what is a conclusive and a pattern of conduct which is so specific, so unique, so impossible to naturally occur. In other words, no one can make it up, and I don't control the circumstances regarding what's in the environment. The entity is, by the documentation itself, prosecuted beyond a reasonable doubt, engaging in what is a targeting system that is unprecedented. And this is the inability for anyone, even those in the legal profession and the medical profession, to deny the spiritual realm. The demon possessed, that is gang stalking, is operating within the spiritual realm to gang stalk American citizens. Also to falsely depict their character while they rely on that which is very demonic All right, that engaging in gang stalking in ways in which gang stalking itself is depicted as something that's maintained as some sort of narrative singularly maintained by those who are suffering from, who must be or presumably or falsely depicted, in other words, as suffering from some sort of mental illness. But the evidence directly rebuts that. That is nothing other than the pattern of conduct, and it's criminal defamation. All right, now that's just the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and get into the video evidence. I want to show you in this video. This is on this day in 2024. The fake son never left Los Angeles outside of my apartment, and in the morning this is where the fake son remained, which is what I documented at 7 looks like 7, what time is this video captured? 7:44. Go ahead and show you the fake son, where the entity is. Again, this is not sunlight, nor is it the sun. That is indeed outside of my apartment in Los Angeles. And on the same day, at the same time, the entity is engaging in what is a pattern, and a specific one, a supernatural one at that. The sun is engaging what is idle presence over me inside of one building at one address from the beginning until the end of the day. And that's exactly what's happening on the same day, even at the same time, for the duration of the day in Los Angeles, where the entity is also gang stalking me by the Los Angeles Police Department, which is what I suffered on this day and what I continuously suffered as I maintained documentation about it. This is why the demon in Unit 41 that's gang stalking by sitting on the staircase with a minor child that's pacing around under that, in that engineer light, under that fake sun, without a care in the world. He's going to a mental asylum, and he's gang stalking me with the demon inside of Unit 55, who is the means whereby audible activity is simultaneously occurring while I operate my device, and the communication devices such as the television are a means of systematically following what I'm doing. That's what you're doing when you're monitoring someone. You're following while you create activity with noise and light, and you are stalking that person while you do so. This is what a whole population in Ontario is doing, and they're going to prison at Woodside Senior Apartments and mental asylums at Woodside Senior Apartments for doing so. Michael Gherkin, Michael Lorenz, Alan D. Wapner, Paul Leon. These are some of others, amongst others, who are going to be removed from the positions that they currently have while they are demon-possessed, gang-stalking sex offenders, terrorist leaders, who are currently in positions of authority while they are facilitating this egregious sex offense of monitoring, gang stalking, as it is underway in Ontario. And you are juxtaposing and recognizing the proof beyond a reasonable doubt, by the way, that it is in fact what is nothing other than gang stalking, as that specific environment surrounds me, where the LAPD engaged in a well-documented pattern of targeting me in that specific environment that's in LA, outside of my bedroom window, where the fake sun is rising over me, like I document in this video, and it is setting in alignment to me, like you see in this video, at 6:13 p.m. That is the entity from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11 hours later. The sun is on only the opposite side of me while I'm inside of the same building at the same address, where the sunrise and the sunset is happening around me, where I'm also being gang stalked by the people of the state who are demon possessed and who are engaging in the psychopathic disorder, personality disorders of those who are demon possessed. That is demon possession affecting the mental illness, the mental health of those who are engaging in this criminal activity. While the government engages in it, the people of the state are as well, and they are indeed engaging in what is stalking and monitoring one person together. That's the significance of the sun being outside of my living room window in the morning, like I am documenting here, as you can clearly see. And as I documented at 6:13 p.m., that sun never ceased to be over me, as I documented it for the duration of the day on this day in 2024. So I want to show you the fake sun in its zenith. I've been speaking a little bit. This is the engineer light.
Order is underway by a government, and this is speaking to the presence of this environment inside of the private space. This is speaking to
the same pattern of conduct is underway, like I'm documenting inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, engineer light, that's appearing on the hallway closet doors in order that I can be molested with that which is not even naturally occurring. It's not sunlight that's piercing horizontally, manifesting in the depths of the apartment, when the doors closed, when the windows are closed, when the blinds are closed, and light is moving all about through the peephole, across the ceiling, fanning across the cabinets. That's in order to, first of all, harass and terrorize. Also, it is to molest the person, to surround the person. When my shadow is appearing on the ceiling above me, I'm being molested with engineer light while I'm subject to federal group stalking and monitoring. And it will be the prosecution of the government for the sex offense of stalking with light when you are monitoring someone. That is keeping someone under surveillance. That is stalking someone. This is what LAPD Karen Bass all right, the city of Los Angeles, the state of California is doing on this day. That's the significance, and that's the pattern with the engineer light inside of the apartment in Los Angeles where I resided, and the pattern of engineer light that you can see inside of the apartment where I remain in Ontario, California, as I document throughout the day. The entity is maintaining this light source, and let me show you the light source because the blinds are closed when you're looking at this light activity in my living room. The blinds are closed. It's appearing at a distance away, and that light activity then, as my documentation shows, if you follow it, that engineer light that creates the magnified size of the closed blind slats, the string that holds them together, that's magnified in size, and then that light activity just drags on the floor up until about 3 or 4 hours later. That engineer light just stays on my living room floor, and that is documented. That's called stalking with light. Has nothing to do with sunlight. It's the same thing that's happening in Tracy's apartment, where the engineer light is on the living room wall, on the west living room wall, creating the shadow of my magnified size of my hand as I put my hand through it, and then I take pictures and video of it, and that light travels across the west living room wall, across the north living room wall, the hallway closet door, and onto the ceiling, into the kitchen, and the engineer light remains framing the front door all day long, regardless of where the fake sun is, whether it's shining or covered up, whether it's on the east or west side of the same front door of Tracy Banks's apartment. That's the same pattern of stalking with light. It's not sunlight, neither is that the sun.
That includes a homeless person that is in the path of the targeted individual that is covered in the specific environment. Okay, it is criminal maintenance of presence by a state, and this is the demonic, ritualistic methods of targeting an American citizen, and this is what the government is engaging in. And as you're looking at this, the specific environment inside of my private space, as you've also seen it inside of my work office, you also see it all over the property. You see it while I'm on means of public transportation, as I remind you about the documentation that's already captured. You see it while I'm inside of any third party's vehicle, all right, which you would ordinarily speak to.
All right, so I want you to see, let me get out of full screen so you can see it. Again, this is where the fake sun began on April 7, 2024, and this is where it remained. That's what I'm capturing at 6:13 p.m. And this is the case at 4:17 p.m. And that's where I want to start this video. I just want to get to where the sun was rising on this day in Los Angeles and where the sun set. It never left Los Angeles. That's not the natural environment. That's where federal group stalking and monitoring that I remain subject to. That was P.O.C. headquarters. And where I am in Ontario, and I am using what was happening in the environment, speaking to the gang stalking system that L.A. County was engaging in, the city of Los Angeles, the people of the state of California, Alvarado Gardens, speaker companies, in the same way that is underway in Ontario, California, San Bernardino County, Paul Leon in the city of Ontario, the people of the state of California, the civilian population in Ontario, the people of the state that are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments, AVANATH Capital Management. It's the same pattern of conduct. All right, and so the entity is doing so, and the proof of that is the supernatural occurrence that the sun would engage in, first of all, the pattern of rising and setting, and the duration of time that I've documented. I've already documented the sunrise here at Woodside Senior Apartments. This morning I got the fake sun over me in its zenith during the 11 a.m. hour, and it is still at Woodside Senior Apartments as I step out during the course of this video after 5 p.m. where the people of the state are openly engaging in domestic terrorism that they are also aware is being documented. That's documentation of impunity, not innocence. It's documentation of what is malice, not sanity. These are psychopaths, and it's going to be used against the very people of the state who are also violent sex offenders engaging in surveillance with the government in bathrooms, monitoring genitalia, stalking you in bathrooms. Something as creepy and demented and psychotic as stalking someone in a bathroom is accomplished while the people of the state are gang stalking everywhere you go on a ceaseless basis. And so the sun never left Woodside Senior Apartments today either. That's within the pattern of conduct, and so I wanted to show you not only the fake sun rising and setting while I remain in Los Angeles on this day in 2024, but I want to show you what I documented, the purpose of starting this video and giving you that context of what is indeed the POC while the entity is rising and setting a fake sun, and also the juxtaposition, another angle of analysis when you are at the same time showing you the purpose of these screen recordings to show you what is also not happening at the exact same time, even down to what is same day, 1 year later, at the same time at 4:17. I'm getting this video at 4:18 p.m., which you can see on the bottom. And this is the also the evidence of what never left, which is the sun never left my address in Los Angeles. So how in the natural environment that is, which is always how you are, that's always the standard. That's always what you're comparing the specific environment to. That's how you're recognizing the illusion that the demons suffer with, that they're going to be prosecuted by, and it's also going to be used to diagnose their actual mental illnesses of psychopaths who are maliciously targeting one person, which is a well-documented pattern of conduct, not innocently in that specific environment. They're in that environment engaging in that highly passive-aggressive and psychopathic pattern of gang stalking in that environment with communication devices while engaging what is monitoring the evidence with the documented impunity. You're not engaging in the pattern of conduct ignorantly. And that's what the entity is doing when they're sitting right in plain view, living at the crime scene, stalking in helicopters and planes and fire trucks at the crime scene, pacing in and out of the parking lot, which is at the crime scene, even while the entity is being documented. That's all impunity. That's all the pattern of conduct as well. That's the significance of gang stalking amongst the population. The population is shown to be the group of gang members who are psychopaths as well, because that is the pattern of conduct where you are not innocently in amongst that supernatural environment, and you are not innocently or ignorantly engaging in the behavioral pattern of always making sure that you are maintaining that obsessive presence that is activity creation, while you just so happen to be getting documented for it. That terrorism, in the same way that anybody that wants to murder people by blowing up buildings and skyscrapers, that level of impunity that is inherent to continuously seeking to do so, regardless of the fact that there is an investigation about your tendency to engage in blowing up buildings, terrorizing American citizens as an American citizen in this country, or as somebody granted the privilege to be in this country, and you're engaging in such methods of terrorism. The same analysis will be applied with regard to the prosecution of federal group stalking and monitoring domestic terrorists who are acting with that psychopathic, passive-aggressive, very malicious pattern, malicious demeanor with regard to gang stalking in plain sight, conspicuous stalking, because that's what that is under the fake sun. That is under no circumstances the natural environment, when at the same exact time the sun is outside of Tracy Banks's patio glass door over the same property where it was this morning, the same property where it is documented at a sunrise at 7:34, the same property where it remains at 6:18 p.m. These are all instances of documenting the fake sun and the entity that is gang stalking that in that environment. And the video at the top of the screen is where at the same time at 4:17 p.m. the sun, where there's only one in the specific environment, there is more than one sun, and that's where you're understanding what the U.S. government is doing throughout this country. And this is speaking to the inhumane and unconstitutional system of surveillance where gang stalking is also underway, and that's what I remain subject to. All right, so this is the P.O.C.
Right, it is currently 4:17 p.m. and I am inside of apartment.
What is outside of my window in Los Angeles? What is creating quote-unquote sunlight on my bedroom wall in Los Angeles inside of 1806 apartment number 6 facing Alvarado Street, and the bedroom end of my apartment is not any sort of sunlight that's peering inside of Tracy Banks's apartment in Ontario at the same time. It's not the sun that will be in perfect alignment with Tracy Banks's patio glass door, so low in elevation, through her patio glass door that's on the first floor. It's so low in elevation, and it's also outside of my bedroom window in Los Angeles at the same time in two different counties, having two different ecological addresses, not going to maintain the same angle, same experience, same sunlight that's going to be created over all of the property, where also there is no provision where the sun ever left Woodside Senior Apartments and the sun never left Alvarado Gardens. This is how mutually exclusive the evidence is while the demons are gang stalking that is monitoring. This is P.O.C. Just want to give you that context when you look at this video.
Apartment 1806, North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. This is the 3rd floor. Oops. And just to be clear, this is the same apartment where you witnessed. I am inside of apartment 1806, North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. This is the 3rd floor. And just to be clear, this is the same apartment where you witnessed a so-called sunrise. You're understanding this is the pattern of conduct. This is capturing what is federal group stalking and monitoring, which is a criminal system of surveillance that is in operation by the government. The state of California is keeping me under surveillance. The state of California is group stalking. And this is demonic activity, which is actually criminal, because they're engaging in criminal monitoring in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. And they're also engaging in what is stalking. That's what group stalking is, but the government is engaging in what is stalking. This is maintenance in your path by the entity, all right? And the entity is everybody that lives around you, all right? And the specific environment is where literally where I remain, where you're looking at what is engineered light. And this is capturing, again, the very pattern of conduct is where the entity is maintaining a specific environment. And that specific environment, this is how you're understanding the demonic feature of this crime. The sun is literally rising and setting in alignment to me, okay? It is starting on this side of my apartment in the morning, and it is setting on this side of my apartment in the evening. That's not a natural environment. It's impossible, and based on this documentation, the natural environment doesn't exist in the state of Florida either, okay? Florida is never seeing the sun. Florida is 3 hours ahead of us. It would be 7:18 p.m. Florida never saw the sun, because I'm going to show you how it's right over my apartment right here. And this is light activity inside of my apartment. This is the maintenance of a specific environment, and this light activity in and of itself, I want to be clear, this is the presence of Satan. This is impossible light activity. It has nothing to do with the light source that you're going to see outside of my window. You already know that. This is the same ceiling where you saw engineered light like illuminated on my ceiling today. This light has nothing to do with the light source. This is placement inside of my placement inside of my apartment, the private space, and then you have what is the light source, which is remaining above my apartment. Literally, it's not just over Alvarado Gardens. It's above my apartment. It's very precise. And that's called stalking with light. That's what demons do. Demons stalk in your path with light, meaning coexisting with presence in your path, which is criminal in the specific environment. The specific environment is maintaining at all times audible activity and light activity. How do you create light activity while you're in the path? Just crossing paths while the entity is, for example, keeping a light source, which is supposed to appear as the sun. You just keep that sun over the targeted individual all day. You rise that light source and you set that light source right above the targeted individual all day long. In addition to that, you are keeping what is engineered light all around that targeted individual, and that's what this is. It has nothing to do with sunlight. You also know that because of the character of this light, which appears all over the place, just like you saw on my ceiling today. And then you saw the second video after I captured that first video, that light activity, which was the pattern of these blinds, it was like scrambled all over the place. It was immediately changing. This is the presence of Satan, okay? Satan is a spirit, not a person you're going to see in flesh and blood. Satan is present, and this is terrorism, because this is also speaking to the presence of those who are stalking you, and they're engaging in what is criminal monitoring. Demons stalk in your path that they let me be even more precise. Demons maintain presence in your path, which is group stalking, and group stalking is occurring in the engineered environment. It is, again, captured where the entity is rising and setting the light source over me, which is what I'm capturing in Los Angeles. And not only that, I have additional evidence speaking to the maintenance of this light source in an entirely different region. For example, at 4:17 p.m., which is why I captured this, not only have you already seen the entity maintaining this light source through the window of the laundry room, where the demon possessed who live at Alvarado Gardens are engaging in what is surveillance while they're group stalking and monitoring while I'm in my office. They're engaging in what is criminal presence in the path. That's a demon that knows what I'm doing on the opposite side of a wall. Stalking with methods of audible activity, all of which is amplified. Everything that a demon is doing, the activity in the specific environment is amplified. That's how demons are targeting you. While they want to outwardly appear as though they're engaging in something that has nothing to do with you. That's a psychopath, by the way. That is in every way obsessively stalking you in the specific environment. And you know that by the light activity. You know that by the maintenance of the environment. That is in every way speaking to the targeted individual, being the focus. Okay, and you see it illustrated in the very environment. First of all, the sun is never going to be present rising and setting. Second of all, everybody at Alvarado Gardens, because by virtue of living at a crime scene where government is engaging in criminal surveillance, they're going to federal prison. They're engaged in 24-hour criminal surveillance with the government that is engaging in a terrorizing system such as group stalking. And this environment is the direct evidence of it. And this environment is present where criminal activity creation is underway. And this is at the ease with which they do so. It's also the ease with which they catch more time in federal prison. That's called impunity. And you are inherently engaging in what is an impermissible threat, where you are living at the crime scene, where you are working at the crime scene. This is an intolerable level of aid provided to a corrupt government who is threatening the life, the very existence, the well-being, all right, and the physical safety of the targeted individual. And there is under no circumstances at any time of year, even as I have considered and specifically spoken to daylight savings time, I want to be clear, daylight savings time is relevant to the fallacy that we have been conditioned to accept with regard to the natural environment, things such as climate change. I want to be clear, when you are looking at the direct evidence of what is supernatural, the sun is not, there is no natural environment where this is the same apartment. The sun was, this light source was on the opposite side of the same apartment at 7 o'clock in the morning. There is no natural environment because, let me be clear, while you're looking at demons that are in vehicles crossing path on Alvarado, they know exactly where I'm at. And you know that because I am the center of the universe. This is where demons are maintaining presence. This is where demons are concentrating activities such as stalking in helicopters. This is where demons are all aware at the same time of what I'm doing. And you know that because the entity is placing light on my ceiling, just like you saw the presence of Satan on my ceiling this morning. The demon possessed are focused on the targeted individual. And this is the reality of the system that they're engaging in. So that's speaking to the demonic feature of the system. The government is practicing demonic activity, and it's criminal because the government has no business placing you under surveillance. In the presence of this engineered environment, I want to be clear, the presence of the engineered environment, the stalking behavior of the people of the state that are driving on Alvarado, the presence of the people of the state that live at Alvarado Gardens, the presence of the state that are living on the hillsides, both on this side and on the opposite side where you saw this light source supposedly rising, as though under any circumstances that was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, that was 9 hours ago. Okay, like I said, the prosecution is a surefire one of the state and the people of the state. With regard to the evidence that you have, your understanding, this environment is where the entity is engaged, is maintaining presence that is following from place to place in that specific environment, and it is at any and every facilitating venue. You are speaking, there is a precise language that you are applying where federal group stalking and monitoring is underway, where criminal surveillance is underway, because this is not a private residence. You've established the venue. This is the facilitating venue. The targeted individual is surrounded at a facilitating venue, and the facilitating venue is also where the private space is going to be maintained. And so you have what is criminal presence. This is constructive presence. This is deliberately maintained for a criminal system. And as the entity touches you with this engineered light, which is no product of the natural environment, it's a sexual offense. All right. And while people are placing the people of the state, the government, a massive entity is placing you under surveillance. It is, understand, you're going to legally analyze. That's a massive sex offense. They are all engaging in what is that ongoing unlawful touching for a criminal purpose. And they like to include kids in that. Yes, they live at the crime scene. They make children group stalkers a part of that massive sex offense. Engaging in what is activity creation. They like to engage in tormenting and harassing you in that manner as well. They do so with ongoing knowledge of the fact that they're being documented. This old biddy, Mary France Salon, is going to federal prison. All right, she's crossing path. They're crossing path. This is ongoing demonic pacing under the sun that is present 9 hours ago, all right, rising. None of this is the natural environment, and this is how you know. And you're looking at what is engineered light that is magnified in size, showing you what is leaves blowing in the trees through closed blinds on this same wall, okay? And these are the demon-possessed. These are the psychopaths that want to maintain some outward appearance of normalcy. There's nothing normal in this specific environment. You're looking at malice. That's called crossing a path in light activity, and they're going to federal prison. That's the same demon, I.I.S Carnero, who's going to federal prison and who shall be losing custody of her minor children, who she also has living at a crime scene, a highly unstable, terrorizing, and unsafe crime scene where she is engaging in the ongoing perpetration of a massive sex offense, a highly demented act of terrorism in concert with the government, and with ongoing knowledge that she's being documented. And by virtue of her crossing path right now, that's impunity. All right?
The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct of, this is the significance of keeping a fake sun over an apartment complex, and it's over me at the apartment complex at Alvarado Gardens, rising on the living room side, the hillside of my apartment at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, and setting on the Alvarado Street side of my apartment where my bedroom is on the opposite side of the apartment, at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, which is what I showed you at the beginning of this video at 6:13, where the fake sun remained. And my body of evidence on an ongoing basis, I maintain documentation at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where I lived and worked until July 2024. The entity is maintaining this ongoing specific environment on a ceaseless basis, and that's exactly what you are looking at here. While you see this fake sun, you are looking at building 1818 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. Where even in Los Angeles, where I'm remaining, throughout the day, even in the workplace where the entity is gang stalking me all day long and all night. The entity has the fake sun over the same apartment building in Los Angeles when I'm at that apartment building, visiting or giving a notice to one of my residents, as I was the manager at this apartment complex. And the fake sun is over the top of my head while UPS is gang stalking at 11 o'clock in the morning. And you will see the supernatural while this fake sun that's over at 4:17 in this video, it's over my head as I capture video of that. And the fake sun is over my head in the same manner over this same apartment building. The entity is engaging in what is the pattern where the fake sun is rising on the east side, whatever side is the east, and setting on whatever side is the west of me, wherever it is that I am situated. It is very obvious to see when I remain inside of one building and the fake sun remains at that one building from the east side until the west side. That's how I get where I walk toward what is the where the sunset will be in the morning, and I get the fake sun over me, and then I go back to where it is that I remain, and I get a picture of the fake sun at the same address on the west side of my person. That's how I'm able to get the fake sun at 11 o'clock in the morning, at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and over the same building at the same address at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. That's how I'm able to get that. Just so for illustrative purposes, because the sun would never be in a position where it's ever reaching anybody in Miami, Florida, to conduct an arrest of anyone in Miami, Florida, under the sun, where I have maintained a body of evidence showing what is impossible, that there is necessarily more than one sun, because it's remaining over me as a matter of tangible evidence from the beginning until the end of the day. So that is speaking to what is necessarily something is supernatural about this environment. That supernatural character is creating what is it's necessary, because it's the illusion of the natural environment in order to deceive. That is to keep ignorant. That is to condition. That is also to present farcical doctrines such as climate change, which has nothing to do with a fake sun sitting at one location all day long. That has nothing to do with that. It is under no circumstances addressing it. Climate control isn't talking about more than one sun, more than one gaseous ball of fire. NASA has never spoken to that. I have been documenting this for a series of years. This is totally this is totally malicious what the government is doing in the United States. This is totally malicious what the demon possessed are engaging in right in front of your face. And this is a pattern of conduct, as I am in Ontario, California, showing you that same pattern of conduct, which is supernatural at the outset. To have that supernatural embodied within evidence in order to prove it, and then while proving it, prosecuting the government that is in fact stalking and monitoring, targeting me, knowing exactly who I am, and targeting through a population with them. Doing so through the passive aggressive manners, such as the psychopath Tracy Banks, who is gang stalking with everybody on her phone while she paces in her apartment. An engineer light fills it, and a fake sun remains over it, and a government surrounds it. The government includes those that are residing at the unit. None of them are private citizens. This is government action. Okay? The entity is doing so. That sort of passive aggressiveness, that's getting to the diagnosis for the psychopathic personality disorder. That's the malice. That's the mental illness. That entity that is gang stalking by getting out of their vehicles, that's perfectly in line with where the fake sun is over the same address as I captured in the video. That is at 4:18 p.m. and the entity that is gang stalking in the parking lot under that fake sun with that same passive aggressive character, that's speaking to the mentally ill who are engaging in their aspect, that their necessary engagement in the P.O.C. amongst strangers. They're supposed to gang stalk you and not address you or look at you. And it's also threatening when the entity is gang stalking and you know the person's name. This is the role that Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer, Shanita Ramai McLean, Jason Isaac Fields, Vanita Jenkins, everybody that's Daryl Mandy, everyone, the people of the state whose name I know, who are engaged in the pattern of conduct. That is, again, the entity that is gang stalking. The entity is doing so in what is the psychopathic show of what is passive aggression, while they're gang stalking you as strangers, like 9FXJ932 is doing. 9FXJ932 is engaging in under the fake sun that is at the same time over me in Los Angeles. You're understanding the malice of the psychopaths that fill the apartment with amplified noise, as I point out that psychopathic trait that you're able to identify by virtue of the specific environment. Again, I want to document that because they're monitoring evidence. They're going to prison and mental asylums for it. At 5:46 p.m., as I point out the passive aggressive character of the gang stalkers who are demon possessed, who know exactly who you are while they're acting like they don't. They know exactly what you're doing while they're acting like they don't. They are stalking you while they're acting like they're not. And their acting is also unpersuasive. They're not actually acting like they're not stalking you. They are acting like they're stalking you under the fake sun and in light that is supernatural. They are acting like they're stalking you while they are right in your face doing it in the specific environment. They are acting like they're stalking you when the government is doing it with planes and helicopters and in fire trucks and ambulances. That's not acting like you're not stalking at all. You're getting past the superficial veneer. I'm helping you understand that. And you are looking at what is nothing other than direct threatening conduct by stalkers who are engaging in what is the creation of illusion, relying on you being conditioned in your mind and ignorant to the illusion where strangers are surrounding, private conduct is underway, constitutionally protected in an entirely normal and natural environment. Getting past that illusion, which are the demon possessed who are gang stalking, practicing witchcraft. That's the significance of the sun being perfectly aimed in alignment to me at the same time at 408 West G Street, apartment number 51 at 4:17 p.m. And like you see here, and at 4:17 p.m. at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, the same apartment where I documented the 7:44 a.m. sunrise, where that sun never deviated from being over my apartment, which this literal video is proof of. Speaking to what is impossible that the natural environment could encompass, could envelop, while stalkers are exposed and their mask is removed with regard to the means whereby the United States is terrorizing American citizens, and they're doing it in reliance on the appearance of children. They're doing it in reliance on even the appearance of the government, who you are also able to see as the violent, sex-offending, psychopathic demons, terrorists that are gang stalking through the same appearance of that government. That mask is taken off, and the police are shown as the terrorists that they are, including the fire department, including the very EMT operators, the ambulance. Gang stalking under the fake sun that you see over this parking lot at 4:17 p.m. in this video. The entity is gang stalking under the fake sun on March 21st, 2024 at 12:45 p.m. It's in the same position. That's a supernatural occurrence. And it's also not only supernatural, but it's also supernatural because the sun is at the same time, like I documented on March 21st, 2024, in the same exact manner over my head where LAPD is gang stalking, like the Ontario Fire Department is gang stalking, engaging in criminal summoning, just like they did today, like I documented on video, where the people that stayed at Woodside Senior Apartments are gang stalking on a ceaseless basis with them at 2:52 p.m. on video. That's the pattern of conduct. Okay, it is currently 5:50 p.m. where the entity is keeping the fake sun, like I already showed in this video, that is showing at the 6:13 p.m. sunset outside of my same bedroom window at the same apartment, the same address where the sunrise was documented. That is speaking to what you are surrounded by wherever you are in the United States, subject to the same surveillance. And you need to understand that this surveillance system is inherent to the environment. The use of this light, the presence of this light, which is supernatural, it is abnormal, it is peculiar, it is unique, it is relevant to the presence where surveillance is accomplished, and surveillance is also underway on communication devices. You are under surveillance where you live, you're under surveillance while you're traveling, you're under surveillance everywhere you are at. And what we categorize as quote unquote public properties, quote unquote private properties, surveillance is underway. For purposes of prosecution, the entity is exploiting the Constitution, and what shall govern the superseding categories are those which are facilitating venues where you will see the supernatural present over any public property where surveillance is underway, over any private property where surveillance is underway, where domestic terrorism and psychological torture is underway. This private property is a facilitating venue at Woodside Senior Apartments. In the same way, the private property, which is a facilitating venue at Alvarado Gardens, where the government, having no warrant or probable cause, is going to be prosecuted, and the government is shown to be the very people of the state that are residing at and remaining all around, engaging in what is a statewide pattern of conduct. That's the prosecution of the U.S. government that is exploiting the United States Constitution, state and federal constitutions, having no authority under the law whatsoever to engage in the surveillance, and certainly having no authority to aid hitmen like Eric Corey Spencer, license plate JABO, hitman like Tracy Lemire Jenkins, her name before marriage is Petty, which matches her character, and her name that she goes by Banks, who is, again, a quote-unquote high school graduate and esteems herself as some sort of highly elaborate and well-thought-out hitman who is gang stalking, and hitmen are identified by their relationship to the target individual. Understand that. But any gang stalker is in a position of committing murder and doing so while the entity is controlling the narrative. So understand the purpose of this very threatening conduct, which is terrorism and psychological torture, where you are subject to what is the ongoing system of what is psychological warfare, psychological torture by gang stalking you, and also for the purpose of taking your life, which is a murder. It's not a car accident, all right? It's not it's not a plane crash, an accident. It's not some sort of act of negligence or some oversight. The entity is targeting and where it is reasonably resulting in the loss of life, which the entity seeks to accomplish. That's the purpose of gang stalking. The government is murdering American citizens and then controlling the narrative and reporting it on the news as something that is still to be investigated, still something that they're going to conduct an autopsy about, and they are the ones that are fully engaged in it and aware of it. What am I speaking to? The government is essentially playing cops and robbers while Satan is engaging in what is surveillance using the corrupt government. This is not an unsupported and invalidated conspiracy theory. It is proven, and you are aware of it by virtue of the evidence, which you cannot deny, the specific environment, the fake sun that's over you wherever you are at. And that is where the pattern of conduct is underway. And there are egregious crimes that happen within the pattern of conduct. And the entity sought to murder and kidnap me, and using illusions such as mental illness when the entity itself is going to be diagnosed for actual mental illness. And pay attention to the documentation. Not only is the fake sun in the engineer light, which is not sunlight that's covering everything outside, and engineer light that you'll pay attention is also inside, which is separate from the illusion creating which is supposedly the sunlight and the fake sun outside. The engineer light inside is distinct from the sunlight that's supposedly the product of the sun in the sky. The engineer light that I've documented, this dynamic engineer light, a body of evidence is documented, and that is directly pointing at the mental illness, the psychopaths, that is, who are engaging in terrorism and psychological torture in the United States. Mental illness as it is understood, as it is defined, where the target individual is not mentally ill, is not hallucinating, is not imagining anything, is not making baseless assertions, not having the evidence to prove that people who are sick are actually stalking someone that they don't even know, and are also targeting someone that they are related to, that they are friends with, that they do have a relationship with, while they don't actually mean you well. That is speaking to mental illness, psychopathic. All right. And that is speaking to what is very much substantiated and is not only existing within the mind of the targeted individual. It is not speaking to what are opinions and outlooks that are unsubstantiated with factual evidence. That's all false. And a lot of the practice of medicine and the quote unquote diagnosis of mental illness are relying on these false notions. This is false. With regard to diagnosing mental illness, where you're claiming that somebody that's being gang stalked, as it is termed, it's currently an unsubstantiated, unsupported, unproven conspiracy theory. And that is the pattern of conduct to maintain it as a narrative with regard to mental illness. And that is unjust. And it's actually it's actually false. It's an absolutely proven to be false. This requires that laws change in the country, and the way that laws are being executed against innocent American citizens who are sitting around kidnapped right now, and those who are their lives have already been taken. They've either already taken their own lives because they've been gang stalked into suicide, or they've been gang stalked until they were murdered. Okay. And then the entity is engaging what is criminally defaming them, claiming that they took their own lives when the entity took their life. The entity killed them. The entity murdered them, and then claimed that the target individual took their own life, engaged in some sort of unsubstantiated, mysterious act of suicide, where they are, in other words, controlling the narrative. They are controlling the production of evidence to support that a targeted individual has taken their own life. And I'm just giving you an example of the ways in which, because there are many ways in which the pattern of conduct is concluded. And it is always to result in what is the loss of life and or kidnapping. All right. It is currently 5:56 p.m. when you're looking at the specific environment. And I want to end that here, where you're looking at the entity that is gang stalking. Tracy Banks is the third party who is indeed going to a mental asylum for her malicious engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring against her own daughter. And she has engaged in an obviously false campaign seeking to criminally defame. It's not ordinary defamation. This is criminal defamation that the government is engaging in. And she has done so relevant to this pattern of conduct where this person who was mentally sick, she is an incestuous sex offender. She is someone who is exceedingly malicious. She is gang stalking me with everybody that literally calls her telephone, including those who I know by name. Like Vanita Jenkins is gang stalking with her while she walks into the apartment in the previous video documented today as the means where Tracy Banks is walking in Engineer Light while the fake son is at her apartment, and at the same time outside of my bedroom window in Los Angeles, California. That's why I captured that video at 4:18 p.m. She is engaging in what is crossing path in Engineer Light and creating activity in concert with the people that are on her communication device. And that's just my gang stalking relatives. All of the city of Ontario and the population is gang stalking in a manner similar to what the demon in Unit 55 is doing, stalking with presence and activity. And the demon in 41 is doing stalking with presence and activity in the Engineer Light, sitting on the staircase, covered in Engineer Light, pacing via a minor child under the fake sun after 5 p.m. It is currently, again, 5:57 p.m. on April 7, 2025. This is the prosecution of the U.S. government that is gang stalking via the state of California, the entire state of California, as that specific environment surrounds that entity, where it is engaging in what is the necessary context to understand how satanic surveillance is underway, how inhumane and unconstitutional stalking by the government in concert with the people of the state who are in the shoes of the government is executed in the state of California. This is P.O.C. Okay, what you will see in images is Tracy Lemire Jenkins, going by Tracy Lemire Petty, Tracy Lemire Banks. She is gang stalking, and she's gang stalking what is legally relevant, a relative. She is subject to prison. She's going to a mental asylum, though, based on the severity of mental instability that has been exhibited while she is criminally engaged in the pattern of conduct on behalf with the U.S. government. She is gang stalking her relative, that is myself, because this person is this is a demon, but this is also somebody that wants to be me. This is a very seriously envious and psychotic third party. She's pacing under the fake sun, stalking with light activity in the path, just like every other nameless demon, in concert with the rest of them at the same venue where the sun is also not setting in alignment to my bedroom window, like I documented on this day in 2024. That's speaking to, again, the level of harm that the entity intends while using those who are related to you, those whose name you know, those who you associate with, who are actually targeting you with the state. And that's reflected in the images. What you can hear in the background is this is the demon who is walking in the Engineer Light, pacing, not loading and unloading. This is a demon that's a psychopath. She is as fake as the hair on her head and the breast on her body. I'm only using that so that you can understand this is somebody that is only focused on me, and everything that she is doing is focused on me. Her entire existence is postured in a manner where she can somebody that is delusional. She thought that she was going to gang stalk me. I was going to die. She was going to feign as though she was in tremendous pain. She was going to benefit off of taking property that belongs to me, that she has never told me about, that she has never admitted that she is in custody of, and has stolen and wants to steal more of it and keep it and retain it. She has never admitted these things. She's engaging in this, and she is obsessed with me. Her obsession is because she's demon possessed. Okay. And this is the same with demons that I don't even know, the Ontario Police Department. They're pacing in helicopters and under the fake sun, knowing exactly who I am, engaged in the same criminal endeavor. Gang stalking. It's a government system, but you have those that are psychotic, and you can have anybody gang stalked if you are interested in doing so. This is what the threat of what the government is engaging in this country. If you have enough demons that are hostile towards you, if you make enough enemies or whatever, but that's just a practical workaround. The facts are the law requires that the government have a warrant of probable cause to keep you under surveillance. And that's what the government is doing, including while Tracy Banks at the venue where she resides, while inside of her apartment, is engaging in 24-hour surveillance. And she's engaged in what is monitoring, and she's monitoring evidence that is simultaneously being uploaded on the Google Drive as of 6:35 p.m., uploaded onto YouTube as of 6:35 p.m. And she is monitoring with the same mental health patients in Unit 41. Doing so with the use of children as audible activity and activity while they are pacing all around in Engineered Light. This is the people of the state that are losing custody of their children. They are gang stalking, and they also know that they're being documented for gang stalking. This is license 9 Charlie Zebra Charlie 059. license 9LJK101. License, the gang stalker that is employed by AVANATH, who you see pacing around me on the sidewalk, works at the venue and also lives in this venue, Unit 41, where minor children are gang stalking with the government. The government is literally also the people of the state who are the vicarious arm of the state that are supposed to maintain this malicious guise of government surveillance, state surveillance, by just living around you, shopping around you, traveling around you, being around you at all times. This is the entity, both conspicuously and inconspicuously. In that specific environment, that's how that's accomplished. And it is entirely satanic. It's also psychotic. Okay, it's demonic. This level of mental illness is caused by the fact that they are actually demons. And this is what Tracy Banks is doing, license 9HUZ740. She is stalking in the path in the same parking lot where the entity is gang stalking in the same parking lot, as I've documented under the fake sun. It's in the position that it's at over me, maintaining the illusion that it's an amber color and that it's also setting. That's, again, a very foolish illusion. The sun is not setting at the same place that it's rising. It's not setting at the same place where it's over my head at the same building at 11:49 in the morning. But she is stalking in the path with flashers on. This is somebody that's demon possessed. This is somebody that's psychotic. Not only is she engaging in the demonic behavioral pattern of using a method of flashing light, she's pacing. All right, and that is going to be reflected in the Google Drive. This is unlawful presence, unlawful activity creation, unlawful state action against an American citizen. It is terrorism, it's domestic terrorism, and it is also psychological torture. It is the component to what the demon possessed are also doing, which you need to be aware of as well. The target individual is subject to what is also spiritual attacks, attacking you in your mind, where you are subject to thoughts that don't belong to you, thoughts that inspire you to harm other people, thoughts that inspire you to harm yourself, disparaging thoughts about yourself, thoughts cause you to question your own sanity, while the demon possessed who are mentally sick are targeting you, gang stalking you in ways that are designed to psychologically torture you. This is what, again, the gang stalkers who are in my family are engaging in and seeking to benefit from, and they're all going to prison and mental asylums. It is currently 6:38 p.m. We're monitoring of evidence and obstruction of justice. Impunity and malice is all that which is known as I'm documenting and publishing the evidence online in real time. This is, again, relevant to the documentation regarding what LAPD, that's the state of California, in the specific environment, which could not possibly coexist with what's happening at the same time of year, on the same day, at the same time in San Bernardino County and Ontario at Woodside Senior Apartments. And that pattern of conduct by the people of the state who are demons, who are engaging in that identical code of conduct, method of light activity in the path, maintenance of noise, and always having to be present. They're doing so while they are maliciously stalking. That is conspicuous and inconspicuous stalking, and it is all state action. 6:39 p.m., where that ongoing unlawful conduct is happening at a facilitating venue. And this is also with impunity. So that is everyone in units 33 through 64 who are gang stalking with amplified noise, criminally interfering with quiet enjoyment. All units in all of those in units 144 are going to be prosecuted for stalking with the state, also in violation of the Violence Against Women Act. And they did so, as documentation proves, with impunity. So these are stalkers that have every intent to continuously terrorize, have no intention, exhibit no remorse, are inhumane while they are engaging in this government system. That is speaking to the worthiness of prison and mental illness and the necessity of diagnosis for actual mental conditions. That is characteristic of those which are psychopaths, deriving pleasure, increasing violent acts, engaging in what is demented, even in the way in which you're targeting another person for no legitimate purpose whatsoever, and in ways in which are designed to falsely depict the character of that person because you're stalking them and they don't know you. That's called malice. It's not paranoia. It's currently 6:40 p.m. This is P.O.C. And the entity will engage in the ongoing psychopathic conduct of monitoring inside of the apartment, monitoring with every move that I make, everything that I'm doing on the communication device. And this is, again, the documentation that's going to put that defendant in the mental asylum. Very much obsessed with me at all places, and it's very creepy and also sexually perverted. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, it is currently 9:02 p.m. This is more documentation regarding why the entity is subject to what is again the federal, even upon prosecution, those documented gang stalkers, those who are a part of the government, those who work for the government that I may or may not know, may know their names, and those that are working for the government while they're gang stalking. The people of the state are working for the government. These are agents of the state. These are not private citizens. They're engaged in state action and not private activity also, and it's criminal as well. It's also satanic because they're monitoring. But nonetheless, I want to document, again, more video evidence that the entity is keeping under surveillance and is manipulating online. So on the website, and I'm going to openly share this because this is relevant to documentation that remains published, documentation that after I have already published it, it is after the fact manipulated, removed from the playlist that I included it in, so that when somebody that is on the internet, for example, let's say in a perfect world, in an ideal world where the federal government is not gang stalking and it is only the state of California and the corrupt government in California that's engaged in gang stalking, and I'm blowing the whistle, I am informing the federal government, I am conducting essentially a federal investigation and then letting the federal government know about the case, that it has jurisdiction to investigate and to provide justice, all right, that I'm entitled to, that I literally established that I'm entitled to because of my documentation, because of the case. The entity is interfering with what a federal agency would have access to. Now, remember, in reality, the federal agency itself is gang stalking. But nonetheless, the entity is interfering with evidence that the federal government would have access to. The playlist, for example, that is, the name of the playlist is Domestic Terrorism and Psychological Torture by Entity Engaged in Federal Group Stalking and Monitoring. And then it is in parentheses referring to the demonic nature of the gang stalking by the police departments. There are some videos, very few. Most of this playlist, it's over 300 videos of the entity gang stalking me in helicopters. And the entity is doing this in this playlist that has been manipulated. So that means there's more than 300, obviously. And I know that this is one of the videos that I'm going to document here that has been removed. It is substantial evidence that is against the state of California. This is the Los Angeles Police Department. That is a terrorist organization. This is during the time when Dominic Choi is the current terrorist leader as the chief of police. That is, again, a demon, first of all. Secondly, a sex offender, a gang stalker. This is a domestic terrorist, in other words, and they're engaging in what is gang stalking via the masquerading conduct of the police, who are engaging in what is terrorizing and gang stalking me, and doing so under the guise of being a legitimate police department. And that guise is very unpersuasive. They're doing it under the fake sun. They're doing it amongst impossible light activity. They're doing it in concert with the people of the state, who are demons as well, showing their criminal engagement in the P.O.C. amongst the impossible light activity that fills my apartment, the amplified noise that would fill my apartment, and I documented it. And on April 15, 2024, the entity is gang stalking in helicopter, and this substantial documentation, that is 47 minutes and 54 seconds long, of Dominic Choi. This is the interim fire chief. This is criminal conduct that Karen Bass is also not ignorant about, when the entity is, again, a statewide criminal that's engaging in surveillance in whatever city and whatever county that I am in and that I am documenting. The entity is aware of that. This is massive comprehensive surveillance. The entity itself interfering with the ability to alert the federal government. Now, this is, again, the ideal circumstances. Here in real life, the reality is that the federal government has dirty, unclean hands, as you would refer to. The federal government is literally engaged in this pattern of conduct. And the entity is seeking to, in real time, obstruct justice. And this is another video, as I am going through, picking out videos that I have already published. I published this gang stalking by the LAPD on April 15, 2024 at 6:48 p.m. and 35 seconds, where it is 47 minutes of demons exhibiting the fact that this is, again, the behavior of a person that is exhibiting what is their condition that's invisible to your eyes, the fact that they are demon possessed. This is the same pattern of conduct that's happening amongst a specific environment. There is no mistaking what it is indeed that I am being subject to, and the criminal system that it is surrounding what is a demon stalking, pacing outside of my living room window for 47 minutes. as I documented it on April 15th, 2024. This is video evidence that is a part of the entire playlist that the federal government, the state, the same gang stalkers that are the Ontario PD that are fully engaged in that ongoing pacing on video today. This is why you have that unlawful threat to my life. This is why you have demons like Tracy Banks that are acting nonchalant, carefree while gang stalking, and has already been told about what's going to be the result. Why is the entity acting with such impunity? Because the government itself is engaging in what is removing evidence from public exposure, removing it, and that's being accomplished while you're removing it from playlists. This is exercising control. This is relevant to federal stalking on the video of the internet on communication devices. The video has been removed from the playlist that is, again, entitled Domestic Terrorism and Psychological Torture by Entity, as I am pointing out all the times that I'm subject to what is identified as gang stalking, because I have the environment around me. The environment that is supernatural, meaning it is very specific, and it is the evidence of malicious stalking that is also conspicuous, because the gang stalking police departments that are masquerading as legitimate government agencies are gang stalking while they are practicing witchcraft, engaging in the creation of an illusion, the illusion of legitimacy, the illusion of constitutional authority, and the illusion of engaging in what is conduct of a normal human being that's also engaging in the execution of their duty, while this demon is actually stalking me and using a helicopter to do so. That's the illusion, and I've captured that illusion hundreds of times. Now, the entity is removing this very probative. I did not forget to add this video that's 47 minutes long. This is one of the most profound items of evidence that is directly prosecuting the LAPD. The LAPD is directly interested in such evidence being removed from a playlist where it's more difficult for you to find it. Okay? And all of the evidence, there's over 5,000 videos that's published on the YouTube channel. It is more difficult for you to find it in that pile of evidence when it is not organized in a playlist where you can see it amongst all the other video evidence of the entity gang stalking me by the police, by the sheriff's departments, and helicopters in the specific environment, in conformity to a behavioral pattern in that specific environment, in conformity to the P.O.C. It is also the P.O.C. to engage in obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice includes the entity that is engaged in surveillance online, including this is not a coincidence while YouTube is removing evidence off the website, which is in furtherance of the pattern of conduct that I remain subject to, which the Ontario Police confirms, gang stalking in the same way that the LAPD did, but for 47 minutes on April 15, 2024, in relevant position to me, psychopathic pacing amongst the engineered light that covers the hillside. That's the same hillside where I documented a sunrise this morning in 2024 at 7:44 a.m. There is no placement of the sun that would, same time of year, so April 15th, you're talking about the sunrise documented on this day on April 7, 2024. Well, days later on April 15, 2024, where the sunrise is outside of my living room window at that same hillside. You do not have at what is 6 p.m. So let's count together from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11 hours later. That is not sunlight. That's coding all of the people of the state, meaning those are not private citizens who are not exercising any privacy or constitutionally protected right. They are stalking in the path, stalking by residents. That is gang stalking with the state. That is engaging in what is audible activity for 47 minutes, relevant positioning, i.e. pacing, which is what demons do. That's a demon-possessed person that's operating the helicopter, that's pacing in front of my window in the living room amongst engineered light that's coding all of the hillside for 47 minutes. This probative evidence is what is removed from the playlist, which is, again, the unlawful intrusion in an ongoing investigation. The federal government that is engaged in what is essentially receiving the evidence that I have published on the venue of the internet, you are unlawfully intruding in the same way that you will not break into the evidence room in any federal government agency office, okay? You're not going to steal any folders with any alleged defendants or, alleged assailants, any person that's being investigated by the federal government. You're not going to go steal their information from the folder. You're not going to rearrange the information so the federal investigators can't find it the next day. You're not going to burn any evidence. You're not going to tamper with any witnesses or incentivize them from testifying against anyone in any ongoing case that's underway, that's being built by the federal government. It's the same thing with regard to documenting. And this is the level of disrespect that the government is exhibiting. The government prosecutes people for engaging in obstruction of justice, for tampering with evidence, for intruding on an ongoing investigation. The people of the state who are the entity, the government itself, which is the entity, that this is why they're engaging in such impunity. This is why you fly around for 47 minutes, by the way, clearly engaging in gang stalking, because that entity is already convinced and secure in the fact that they have every intention to remove the evidence, to manipulate the circumstances, to silence the targeted individual, to kidnap them into silence. All right, that is to obstruct justice. This is why you have the Ontario Police gang stalking, the Ontario Fire Department gang stalking, Tracy Banks gang stalking, the people of the state at Woodside Senior Apartments gang stalking, the Ontario International Airport gang stalking with the level of impunity that I continue to capture, as though no consequences are coming. This blatant disrespect of an ongoing federal investigation is not the outward demonstration of people that are not going to serve the penalties for terrorism in the United States. That's not what this is. This is the information, the evidence supporting exactly what domestic terrorism requires in the United States. Domestic terrorism that is committed by a government against a single American citizen that has been isolated, that has been alienated, that has been targeted by all of a government and an entire population wherever they go. And the entity that does so under the facts and circumstances that warrant prison, that warrant mental asylums, that warrant removal from office, that warrant public information about any gang stalking companies, about the fact that they are terrorists that are profiting from terrorism in the United States, all of these policies. This is the evidence that supports it. This is why you're going to prison, and this is why you're not getting out. You're not getting out in 6 months. You're not getting out in 2 years. The entity sought to murder me. And it is that which is committed in furtherance of accomplishing that murder when they are manipulating the evidence, the only means whereby you can make yourself known to the federal government that's not gang stalking you, that's not a part of the criminal pattern of conduct, that would remove delusional psychopaths that have unclean hands, that have made filthy whatever agency that Jason Isaac Fields is a part of. This is not a hero. This is not a partner. This is someone who is easily replaceable with regard to someone who is not going to lend themselves to compromising, someone that cannot be talked into unethical behaviors, someone that cannot be convinced into engaging in criminal activity and abusing their position in government. There are plenty that will never engage in what Jason Isaac Fields has done. And you do not become a partner and switch sides to the good guys because you decide to, or when you think that you are. You remain the person that is the offender. With regard to the government is gang stalking the target individual. The target individual isn't in a position to say, okay, you're not a threat to me anymore. You can come into my presence. You have the ability to exercise rights over my property. You have the right to establish yourself as not threatening me. You have the right to deem yourself that way. That's, again, the same demons who are delusional with regard to exercising authority that they don't have in the spirit and the authority that they don't have under the law. You are a terrorist under all circumstances. Speaking toward what is the gang stalking entity at large and the gang stalkers who have abused their positions in government, such as Jason Isaac Fields. This is somebody that is still obsessively monitoring, somebody that is still gang stalking. And it is not a coincidence that I am picking out, finding evidence that has been manipulated, that has been suppressed, in other words, while the entity will at the same time feign as though they're conducting an investigation. My life remains threatened. My safety remains threatened. My well-being remains threatened. This is the same corrupt government actor that has engaged in criminal defamation. This person and no one affiliated with this person, associating with this person, claiming to be engaged in any sort of heroic feats with this person or what this agency, whatever agency would enable such a documented terrorist to do. They are not heroes. They are not a part of providing justice. They are the terrorists that are seeking to suppress and silence an American citizen and suppress proof of that fact. They will under no circumstances ever have any actual affiliation with me. And this is necessary with regard to when I do get justice, and I will, and it is sooner than later. I want to be clear. I will under all circumstances make it abundantly clear Who was a part of that threat? Who was a part of that threat to my life? Who sought out to take my life, having no right to do so, having no basis to do so, both in the sight of God and under law, especially while being a part of government, and then would like to try to rehabilitate their reputation by trying to make up for the harms that they've done. I should be dead already. Jason Isaac Fields cannot compensate me enough for that, cannot make up for that. Jason Isaac Fields should have already been promptly removed from whatever position he had, where he was abusing it in order to engage in sex rituals, enable a bunch of sex offenders, a bunch of demons, a bunch of corrupt actors with whom he is gang stalking and abusing his government position and violating and terrorizing an American citizen. He should have already been promptly removed, dismissed from whatever position he abused to do so, and facilitated in any regard, at any level. At any level. If that is not the case, that is exactly what's going to be discussed with regard to the incompetence and the unclean hands of the government that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, as it is exposed and undeniable and proven beyond a reasonable doubt, and the government that is also now required to provide justice. Those that are not incompetent, those that do not have unclean hands, those that are not given over to compromising the lies of, to compromising, first of all, the truth, and compromising, placing into jeopardy American citizens that such federal agencies and those within those agencies are supposed to protect. They're supposed to uphold the Constitution. You're not supposed to help these diaper-wearing demons that are flying in helicopters to date, gang stalking me on video, where they don't have any fear of oncoming consequences because the entity itself is removing the evidence, is manipulating it, is exercising control over it. That's an unlawful threat that the entity will pay the price for. And I don't just mean monetary. You're talking years in prison. You're talking about removal from office. You're talking about what is paying the price for what the entity has done to an American citizen. And no one should be subject to it. I should not have to not only be subject to it, but then I have to be the one that's going to speak, because no one else is going. The federal government's not going to admit to the egregious things that it committed. The federal government is steady trying to clean up its reputation, steady trying to make itself look better than it actually is. Doesn't want you to see the fecal matter that's all over their badges. They don't want you to see that. They want to try to control the narrative, but you cannot. I've been ahead of the federal government for years, and you are not avoiding justice while the entity seeks to control the narrative by manipulating evidence, wants to control the information by suppressing it online, removing it from playlists. That is an unlawful act, seeking to bury it amongst the evidence that is all of that which is published online. There's a reason why all of the evidence is organized by day. It's organized into playlists on a daily basis. And it's also organized with regards to the type of offenses that the entity, to the type of domestic terrorism and psychological torture. Gang stalking me by helicopter, gang stalking me by facilitating venue. All the police departments with the fake sun over my head while I'm in the presence of that venue. Gang stalking me by the people of the state who are doing so in that specific environment, harassing and terrorizing me in that specific environment, in concert with the gang stalking demons that have police firing ambulance vehicles and helicopters and airplanes. The people of the state that are engaging in acts of violence against me because I'm documenting those demons that they are, because they're hostile to justice, which is the character of Satan. Satan acting out against me while the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. The entity that's gang stalking by the gang stalking police departments that are under the fake sun, following me around, driving in police vehicles, flying in helicopters while I'm in different cities and different counties. And I'm showing you the entity that is gang stalking by police department, by license plate. Those are the ways in which it is organized on the YouTube channel. The entity is manipulating that evidence by removing it from playlists that I made, that I specifically placed it into, by manipulating that information, removing the thumbnails. This is all of that which is relevant to federal stalking under Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. The entity is doing so because it is very much aware of the fact of the truth that I am speaking with regard to the pattern of conduct. I am documenting right now, and you're monitoring. You're monitoring.
I don't want to.
You're not even sleeping.
I don't want to.
This is monitoring by the same demon that's walking in Engineer Light with Vanita Jenkins. Both of them are going to be prosecuted, no matter how old Vanita Jenkins is. And this is the state that is a sex offender, taking her clothes off, pacing around in Engineer Light, butt naked, like a psychopath.
and engaging in gang stalking with the police department, that engages in criminal defamation like the actual psychopath that she is. She's gang stalking me and monitoring my genitalia in the bathroom, is acting on behalf of the state that's monitoring right now over her apartment building, and is furious because I'm speaking to that. Nobody is yelling. I'm prosecuting you. This is the same one that's engaged in a pattern of kidnapping, criminally summoning the Ontario Police Department, gang stalking with those demons that fly over her apartment day and night under an idle fake sun. This is a demon, in other words. This is a demon that's engaging in gang stalking on a 24-hour basis. This is a psychopath who is engaged in manipulating the evidence on the venue of the internet.
Lower your voice.
The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct and having no actual authority in the spirit as a demon-possessed gang stalker, a psychopath, nor under the law, which I will prosecute this psychopath for. All of this be quiet, all of this pacing in the living room. This demon is monitoring even while she is acting like she's sleeping. She's not sleeping while the fake sun is over an engineer light swiping across her kitchen cabinets in the living room. I will not shut up. You shut up. You shut up, Satan. You shut up. You shut up. You can't even pay your rent. Go ahead and threaten him. Go ahead and threaten. You're going to a mental asylum. You can't pay your rent. This is a federal government. While you're gang stalking, you get assistance to pay your rent. You got a used Mercedes-Benz. This is not a distraction, Satan. You were gang stalking while I'm in Los Angeles. And you're mad because I'm pointing out the fact that you're scared of the evidence that you're manipulating on the internet.
Get out.
Your mama is a B. Your mama is a B.
And so is your mother.
No, that's whoever you are. You call yourself that. You call yourself that. But this is not a distraction. This is the demons who are desperately removing evidence, and this is unlawful harassment. This is the same entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct and relying on their own criminal activity, referring to what are acts of criminal defamation. That's why she's going to a mental asylum, and she is not getting out. This is the same one that strips butt naked in the kitchen, pacing around an engineer light. These are the desperate acts that they engage in. It's the same pattern of conduct. These are the acts of hostility by a mentally sick entity. Do not forget the entity that's flying over in helicopters at this same apartment today. Don't forget the entity that there is no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4 when they're pacing in the sky space, gang stalking me because I'm capturing more video evidence. They're removing the evidence online, and this demon that is monitoring does not ever take a nap. She's obsessively stalking, paces outside of the bathroom door while she's obsessed with my genitalia and tries to reference her kidnapping acts as the evidence of what is something that some judge said. Guess what? Whatever judge that is you're referencing, they're going to prison. You're engaged in documented acts of criminal defamation, words that you can't even spell. You're a high school graduate and you want to be me. That's why you're gang stalking me. You are psychopathic. You have severe mental illness and you are going to sit in a mental asylum. Nobody cares about the lies that you are speaking. It's nothing other than audible activity. And every documented gang stalker that's acting with you, you're speaking on behalf of a whole entity. You are getting locked up. Then Mike Lorenz is gang stalking with you. Michael Gherkin is gang stalking with her. Alan D. Wapner is gang stalking with her. Paul Leon is gang stalking with her. And she is threatening on behalf of a whole entity. She is harassing while I am documenting in the living room, and she is hostile to their criminal acts of obstruction of justice. The entity is engaging in the ongoing pattern of conduct on a ceaseless basis. This is the same demon that is stalking me obsessively, talking about get out, and she is obsessively concerned with everywhere that I go. This is the same entity that's engaged in an ongoing documented pattern of kidnapping with the police that she's threatening to summon. The police, the same ones that pull out their cell phone and play back the entire audible activity inside of her apartment, is the one that she's threatening to call right now. Why? Because I'm documenting the fact that they are engaged in manipulating the evidence on the internet, and this hostile demon who is a sex offender and a psychopath is scared of it and comes out harassing to engage in it. This is what she's doing when she's gang stalking with Eric Spencer on the phone. She's pacing an engineer light. Eric's going to federal prison. This is what she's doing when she's gang stalking with Daryl Mandy on the phone. She's gang stalking documented on podcasts with the Ontario police that she's referencing right now. He's going to federal prison. This is the same thing she's doing with Dan Ackery, gang stalking on the phone, a documented pattern under the fake sun. And she is going to be prosecuted for her malice. This is a mentally ill gang stalker. No mental illness on my part while the entity is exhibiting that. Everybody that's on her communication device shares in that criminal engagement of the pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging in a P.O.C. and her severe obsession with me is already proven in the body of evidence. Everything that she is stating is audible activity. Audible activity. Audible activity while you stalk everywhere that I go. You and your fake hair, your fake, ain't nobody touching you, lying demon. Nobody wants to touch you. You're the sex offender. You're the one placing cameras in my apartment. You're the one watching and lying about what I do. You're the whore that sleeps around for money. You're the one that shows your body and try to make sure, act like you were me. Stealing my identity? Ain't nobody ever been on no OnlyFans.
identity?
That's you that wants to be me. And you don't even look like me. I don't have breast implants. I don't wear weaves and fake ponytails.
Get out.
I don't have a tracking road
Get
wrap on my
out.
stomach.
Get
I ain't
out.
had no kids.
Get
You're
out.
the one that tried to act like you were me and then
Get
criminally defame me in the
out.
courts. You're the one acting like
Get
you
out.
were me, trying to steal my identity. You're the one
No
trying
one
to steal an
tried to steal your
inheritance.
identity.
You're the one that's in the courts making up information. Your
Yeah.
audible activity right now
No,
is
it's
criminal
true. You're
defamation.
mentally
No,
ill.
it's not.
Yes.
You are mentally ill.
You
You
are
are
mentally
very
ill.
severely mentally
Yeah.
ill. And this is not a distraction
Guess
from the
what?
very criminal acts on the venue of the internet.
what?
This is the entity that engages in that when they are hostile and when they
scream
are
all you
fearful.
want.
I am not screaming.
You can
I am
scream. You
speaking
are-
forcefully. You
Get your
can get
hands
your
out my
bad
face.
breath out of
Get
my
your-
face. Back up out of my face, and you don't have to worry about
Get
my
out of my
hands.
house.
You are the one that's
Don't
in my
touch me.
face. Back
Don't
up.
touch me. Don't
You
touch
are the
me.
one that's
Don't
coming in
touch
my
me.
space. Back up. Okay, the Ontario
Bitch,
Police
this
is
is my
listening
fucking
right now.
house.
This is
Get
acts of
out.
desperation.
Get out of
This is
my
the entity.
house.
The Ontario
I
Police
want you
Department
out
are
of my
gang
house.
stalking
Get your
with her,
shit and
and
get
she
the
is
fuck
doing
out.
so while she is
Get out.
manipulating the evidence, and she is
Get out.
fearful of it.
Get
This
out.
is what she's doing under the fake
Get
sun
out.
at 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Get
and
out.
she's pacing around at 4 o'clock in the
out.
afternoon when it's also in
want
alignment
you
with
out
what
of
I
my
just
life.
documented after
Get
4
out.
o'clock in Pomona, California, and Glendale, California. These are the acts
told
of the
you to shut
demons
the
who are
fuck
gang
up.
stalking.
I told
This is the entity that resorts to violence. This is the sex offender that does indeed place cameras and watches my nude body and publishes that on the internet, also for profit. This is the entity that is in the gang stalking courts and resorting to their criminal acts of kidnapping as some sort of, which is audible activity right now, while she's resorting to that and referencing acts of kidnapping as some sort of basis of mental illness when she was kidnapping at the outset. And all of this is because I'm in the living room and I'm documenting the fact that they removed my evidence off the venue of the internet. Do not be distracted by what you just heard. This is the entity that resorts to criminal defamation, referencing, let me be clear, Jonathan Burnett. This is the same demon that engaged in criminal summoning with the same psychopath on May 19th. May 14, 2019, May 4th, 2019, and he pulled out his phone and at the West Valley Detention Center after kidnapping me, after she waged false allegations, just like she did now, stating, don't touch her. I did not touch her. She's getting in my face, and I said, back up. This is what a demon does, by the way, when they want to instigate a situation because they want to distract from what it is that I'm speaking about. Do not be deterred by that, nor distracted by it, because I'm not. This is somebody that's yelling out things that are not actually happening while she's monitoring at the same time. This is the same apartment complex where the entity is gang stalking, amplified audible activity, and the Jonathan Burnett is engaged in what is pulling out his cell phone, reciting Tracy's voice on his phone where he was never called when we were inside of the apartment. And Jonathan Burnett and the Ontario Police Department are right now monitoring what's going on inside of this apartment, which is not a private residence. She's referencing the police while she is threatening gang stalking with them. That's why Jonathan Burnett was able to pull out his cell phone and recite her threatening me on May 4th, 2019 inside of her apartment before she walked outside under the fake sun in this parking lot and engaged in quote unquote summoning, which is a psychopath's iteration of criminal summoning, just like you saw the Ontario Fire Department doing under the fake sun this afternoon after 2 p.m. Now you're stalking in the path with your communication device. Why, Satan? Why? You want me to get out of your face?
Quiet.
You're bothering me. Back away from get out of my personal space. Get out of my personal space. I was minding my business. You're all up in my business. If you weren't gang stalking, you wouldn't be scared of this documentation. You wouldn't be scared of this documentation. You wouldn't be in my face. No, you can get out of my face. You can stop lying about. You can stop lying about what's happening. That's why. No, you are in my face, and you're trying to be a distractor, and you're not. No, you want somebody to stop talking about the fact that you're manipulating evidence on the internet. That's what you want, and it's not a distraction. Criminal defamation from a sex offender like you, a high school graduate that can't even spell defamation, but yet you resort to it. That's a desperate tactic of Satan. You and your witchcraft does not work. It's ineffective. And you're going to a mental asylum all you want. I know I can, but I speak facts. You speak lies, Satan. That's all you have. You don't have any facts. The fact is, the fake sun sits over your apartment all day long where you're gang stalking. And then you gang stalk somebody on the job and then refer to the fact that you're not working because you're gang stalking at work. That's what the LAPD is doing when you're removing that evidence off the internet, you psychopath. That's what she's referencing right now. This is why Jonathan Burnett pulled out his cell phone on May 4th, 2019. The Ontario Police Department, just like you saw on video today at 2 in the afternoon, where you've seen the sunrise at 7:34 at the same apartment. You see them gang stalking over the fake sun at 11:40 in the morning. You see them gang stalking at 2 o'clock in the afternoon over the same apartment where she's referencing the gang stalkers themselves, the same gang stalker, Jonathan Burnett, who knows exactly what's being said in here. They don't have to be called on the phone. They're already engaged in surveillance, as the evidence already shows on the internet, where they are manipulating that information, manipulating my videos, and a demon that's gang stalking in the apartment then comes and engages in what is this documented act of terrorism and harassment by that entity. This is the one that's going to a mental asylum. This is the one that's very fearful and very desperate, and you are never deterred by the acts of Satan. This is a psychopath, in fact. Every act speaking toward the mental state of the target individual is a malicious act of what is defamation, which is audible activity while she's simultaneously monitoring. It's already published. This is why Jonathan Burnett of the Ontario Police can pull out his cell phone and had Tracy's voice on her phone. She didn't record the phone call and then texted to him, here you go, this is what we were talking about. She was in her apartment being a gang stalker like she is now, making allegations that were not true when she attacked me, and I defended myself and I told her, if you touch me again, I'm going to hurt you. And then Jonathan Burnett is at Woodside Valley Detention Center under the fake zone on May 4th, 2019, and pulling out this demon's voice on his phone, on his cell phone, where he thought, like the Ontario police are convinced in while they're manipulating evidence on the internet, that they're going to get away with kidnapping someone, because that's what it is when you don't have a warrant of probable cause to keep someone under surveillance in an apartment where you've committed no crime, and the entity is engaging in that targeting system with the demons that refer to those police departments in order to threaten you, refer to their kidnapping acts in a concert in order to criminally defame you, engage in what is that pattern of conduct while you see them engaging in what is the audible activity creation by referencing previous acts of kidnapping. This is the entity that does that. This is what Jonathan Burnett is doing on May 4th, 2019. The entity is doing so while at 9:32 p.m. The entity is this is the entity. Tracy Banks is the entity. She's using her communication device and wants to be a distraction. So this is harassment while she's stalking in the path, obsessed with me, just like when I'm in the bathroom and my panties are down and she's pacing like a psychopath with all the rest of the demons inside of units 33 through 64, who also live in relevant position under the fake sun, where the police know exactly what's going on inside of her apartment. And that's again why the evidence of Jason Burnett, what that's pulling out a cell phone and listening to the entirety of the argument inside of her apartment on May 4th, which is already documented and published information that I didn't have to make up then and I don't have to make up now, that the police are gang stalking with her. That's a tactic of the entity that seeks to try to harass and abuse you with regard to criminal defamation when they kidnap you. And they make up allegations, and then they recall on the evidence where they're monitoring you as when they manufacture charges. And this is what the entity did. And this is the tactic right now while the entity is holding up her cell phone, stalking in the path, in the living room, in the specific environment where the fake sun rises and sets, and where engineer light remains at nightfall, okay? This is relevant to everything that's coming out of the face of a demon, a sex offender, and a psychopath who has engaged in acts such as manipulating the evidence on the venue of the internet, while at the same time trying to intimidate. You're not intimidated by somebody that's stalking you, somebody that's over 60 and doesn't look anything like a younger person, somebody that tries to feign being you and stealing your identity, engaging in fraudulent acts against you, engaging in acts such as having power of attorney, which she does not have. She is a liar. She is a criminal. She is a fraudulent actor who has sought to try to steal my identity in more than one way, while at the same time gang stalking in furtherance of committing murder and kidnapping. And that's the purpose of gang stalking police departments. And the body of evidence that's published online already proves that. So the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct and is holding up her phone when she's not documenting anything. She is a demon who was hostile to being documented and now is standing in front of me when she talking about she wants to go to sleep. The entity is obsessively concerned with me, and the entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct with no, you know or not. You're not. You're being psychopathic. You're showing how much focused you are on me. You're showing how focused you are on me.
I want the world.
You're obsessively. You want the world to see where?
Yeah, I do.
Where?
I do.
Where are you going to show the world?
Yeah, don't you worry.
Where are you going to show the world?
Don't you worry.
All right, this is a demon that's a gang stalker. The entity is engaged in that P.O.C. and you're hearing her obsessively consume with me. This is what the entity is doing while she's engaged in federal stalking using a communication device. That's what that is. She's pacing around the floor using the camera on the phone, the flashing of the light. She is monitoring in real time, and this is a psychopath that is engaging in the same exact elements of monitoring merely because she is hostile while I am documenting her. The entity is talking about, I'm going to show the world. Where are you going to show the world? She doesn't have a channel like I am documenting her and documenting the state of California. She doesn't have that. She's referring to what is evidence that she knows that I am accumulating in order to prosecute and put psychopaths like her where they belong, in padded rooms with restraints. Understand that this is what Jason Isaac Fields is facilitating as a state actor, somebody that she married behind my back, somebody that she was engaging in sex rituals as a cult member behind my back, serving Satan together. This is the demon that's walking out, gang stalking together, lying. This is what psychopaths engage in. Lying, engaging in what is trying to get a reaction while making blasphemous, bombastic statements about someone's mental health when you are kidnapped and the entity is engaged in that POC even while they're kidnapping you. This is what's published with regard regard to the June 16, 2022 kidnapping. And literally, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center is engaging in the pattern of conduct with the fake son in the engineered light. That's the significance of a demon-possessed gang stalker referencing such acts of kidnapping. They rely on that illusion while they are engaging in that P.O.C. in order to commit kidnapping, threatening to call the police that you don't even have to call. They're already gang stalking together. That's the entity that's engaging in what is the ongoing threat to your life and safety. Threatening what to kidnap. Let me be clear. The entity that's engaging in threatening to kick me out of the apartment when I go to West Covina, when I go to Hesperia, when I go to Victorville, when I'm living in Los Angeles, when I go to Las Vegas, Nevada. Guess who's still gang stalking? This psychopath that's inside of this apartment, and the proof of it is in the specific environment. The specific environment where demons that behave in the way that you just heard, demons that make the bombastic and false statements that you just heard, and they do so like they really believe it. This is a psychopath who actually believes her lies. This is somebody that's an egregious, violent sex offender and has been engaged in sexual violence against me since I was a child, and now is engaging in what is making these statements while she's admitting to engaging in kidnapping. She's admitted to engaging in what is criminal defamation. She's admitted to engaging in what is harassment, and stating that she's going to show the world when she has no such P.O.C. channel. So where is she going to show the world? Let me be clear. She is a gang stalker, and everything that's happening on communication devices is a matter of surveillance. She has no documentation. The entity, I don't know what world she's referencing, but in her twisted world where she's engaged in the P.O.C., she is just engaged in what is a documented act of harassment, while I am exposing what is public corruption and the criminal act of obstruction of justice, which is what the entity shares in. This is the same demon that is engaged in what is the P.O.C. with the intent to obstruct justice, while the entity is hostile to that, comes out and is engaging in what is harassment. So this is the same iteration of that same P.O.C. This is the same entity that is exceedingly desperate. She is now pacing around like a psychopath on a communication device like she always is, in engineered light, which always remains, and is making statements seeking some sort of response. The demon that is on the phone is reacting and responding with her, gang stalking with her. All of this, remember, is based on the entity that is removing evidence off the internet. 47 minutes of the Los Angeles Police Department flying in circles outside of my apartment, where the sun would never be over this apartment complex, where this demon-possessed gang stalker is fearful, very fearful, and desperate. Those acts of desperation are documented federal offenses, however. That's the government that's speaking. That's the government that's engaged in federal stalking on her communication device. That's the government that's threatening, engaging in criminal defamation as the means of audible activity creation. That's the same government that's engaged in what is manipulating and removing evidence off the venue of the internet. That's the government that's engaged in what is harassment while I'm documenting this, okay? So this is speaking, it's currently 9:38 p.m. That was a long, drawn out iteration of nothing other than Satan trying to do a tap and dance. Satan is using this person. This is not a sane person. This is a person that has multiple personalities. This is a person that's a violent sex offender. This is a person that is relying on somebody to get on their phone and talk with her, which is audible activity in engineered light. Where the fake sun is over me in Los Angeles at my apartment, that's where the entity is gang stalking for 47 minutes and on like I documented at this time of year on April 15, 2024. And the entity is coming out and engaging in this harassment while the government seeks to use this demon like she is. She's a third party and an unintelligent one, a high school graduate. That's the only way that you could ever procure secretly against someone like myself who is legally trained, someone that has never been a criminal, someone that I am, anything that I'm speaking of with regard to the legal relevance of what she's doing, she has no idea. She's an ignoramus and she just shouts out insults. They have legal significance, however. This is criminal defamation and harassment while the entity is gang stalking. The video evidence of what is 47 minutes of gang stalking by helicopter is evidence that is prosecuting even this act of criminal obstruction of justice right now. It's relevant to what I'm documenting with the entity that's removing the evidence online is in real time inside of the apartment and coming to create what is an argument, create what is a distraction, but it's audible activity. Monitoring is ongoing and the substance of what is that monitoring is legally relevant. And this is also the entity that's gang stalking and engaging in what is a threat to criminal summoning. That's a psychopath. The police are already gang stalking. You're not calling the police. The police are already gang stalking. Not only that, the entity is speaking as one. So this is not Tracy Banks speaking on behalf of the state. The state and Tracy are one. Not only because they share the same mental illness, these are demons, but also because they're sharing the criminal pattern of conduct. The same entity that's removing my evidence online about the LAPD gang stalking for 47 minutes straight, that's what that demon wants you to not think about while she's talking about things which are an admission by her and the entity that's gang stalking in a specific environment. 47 minutes of pacing in a helicopter is the outward demonstration of demon possession, and so is the use of what are word curses, speaking toward what is the mind state of one who is gang stalking in real time. Again, these are the desperate acts of sickos who are nothing other than targeting while I am documenting. This psychopath is very fearful and is pacing in and out of her bedroom while she's talking to the people of the state on the phone. I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because this person is sick. What you're going to look at is the video on April 15, 2024, and I'm going to go ahead and reference it because the entity went to the extent to remove it from the playlist, which is the unlawful suppression of evidence. Okay, now this is what you're focusing on when the entity just engaged in this ongoing desperate act of obstruction of justice. This is harassment. This is why the entity is threatening your life. This is why the entity is gang stalking by police in the same way that I'm documenting on April 15, 2024 at 6:48 p.m. 47 minutes and 54 seconds of the criminal pattern of conduct that Tracy Banks is engaged in. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct where the same gang stalkers resort to criminal defamation, which is no insult when you're obsessed with me. You stalk me in the bathrooms. You stalk me while I'm sleeping. You resort to ineffective witchcraft. You engage in sex rituals. You engage in sexual activity with everyone that was in my social circle. You're a closeted prostitute. You're engaging in what is a whole fake lifestyle. The entity is engaging in a malicious and psychopathic pattern of conduct and resorts to harassment, like you've heard, because they are fearful of what it is that I am exposing. 47 minutes of gang stalking by helicopter. 47. Count them. 47 minutes under what is the fake sun that's remaining in LA, not the natural environment over this demon's apartment where engineer light is present. The obvious presence of the crime scene and the criminal herself is speaking, which is audible activity, using her device, which is federal stalking, in furtherance of seeking to obstruct justice. When I'm referring to the criminal act of obstruction of justice of removing and manipulating evidence, okay, that's the underlying point. And this long, drawn out, documented act of obstruction of justice is relevant to why the people of the state, AVANATH capital management employees, they're going to federal prison. They're the same entity. They speak as one. In the same way that they're gang stalking in the specific environment as one under the fake sun and an engineer light. These demons are outside of the apartment, pasting in the sky space and pasting all around on the property and on Vine and G Street. Well, it's beyond Vine and G Street, but all around the property, around the perimeter. They're gang stalking, monitoring what's going on in this apartment. While she is resorting to the entity's criminal acts of kidnapping, which is why they're going to prison, resorting to their criminal conduct, referring to that as the basis whereby the entity is relying on the farcical illusion of mental illness. When you're kidnapping, there is no mental illness. It remains a criminal act that the entity is, again, maliciously, her reference to it is her malicious engagement in it and is relying on that with regard to trying to render illegitimate this evidence of criminal acts of obstruction of justice, removing my evidence so that you will hear, oh, you're mentally ill when I'm referring to what speaks for itself. 47 minutes of gang stalking by helicopter amongst the engineer light where the fake sun is rising and setting. And that's not at Woodside Senior Apartments. That's at Los Angeles Alvarado Gardens. And Karen Bass, Paul Leon, Mike Lorenz, Michael Gherkin, the entity that is gang stalking by the city of Ontario, in other words, the entity that's gang stalking by the city of Los Angeles, who are very much invested in unintelligent high school graduates who literally resort in what is spreading the Jezebel spirit while she sleeps around and recruiting as many people as possible in order to gang stalk someone. Okay, this is the entity. She is actually going to a mental assignment. That's how this is going to conclude. By this, I mean the prosecution of the state of California. This is what the federal government and demons like Jason Isaac Fields, representing a threat, having sex with Tracy Banks, marrying Tracy Banks, criminally defaming me with Tracy Banks, engaging in fraudulent acts against me and my identity with Tracy Banks, and she disregards it and acts like it did not happen. This psychopath is going to a mental asylum, and this is evidence that's going to be used against her and every word that she uttered tonight. Satan does nothing other than throw out threats. Satan is pacing around like a psychopath while doing it. Monitoring. The people of the state are on the phone engaging in criminal defamation together. 9:44 p.m. These are two demons that are engaging in what are monitoring together. Psychopaths. The spirit of Satan is using them spiritually, but legally, the state is using them engaging in the elements of monitoring. And it's AVANATH's criminal conduct, the impossible light activity that fills this apartment, that's speaking to audible activity and malice. The gang stalkers that are under this fake sun that rises and sets at the same apartment, that's speaking to the malice that's engaging in gang stalking right now via the communication devices, and just resorted to threatening my life and safety and my well-being, resorting to previous acts of kidnapping, resorting to using things such as criminal defamation. No matter how farcical, no matter how absurd it is nonetheless criminal defamation that you're going to prosecute for. The ordinary target individual is subject to this, and having no one to report it to, having no way to enforce their rights or prove the fact that your gang stalkers are in your family, in your peer circle, in your neighborhood, in your government. Okay, that's the significance of that. It is currently 9:45 p.m. and I also want you to take a look at the superficial veneer. This demon that's so concerned with going to sleep, she's not concerned with going to sleep. This is why she is already with phone in hand, stalking in the past. She just wants me to stop talking about the fact that they are systematically removing and manipulating evidence on the internet. This is why she rapidly changes from being quiet to speaking to, oh, you are out of your mind, or all the nonsense that you heard. This is somebody that is festering on the inside. This is somebody that is already hostile to me. This is a demon. This is a demon-possessed person. And this is also somebody that is clearly not looking out for my best interest because she's gang stalking me. And she's also hostile because I have the audacity to document and prosecute her while she's gang stalking me in her apartment where you have no constitutional right to do it. I'll prosecute you where you live. Okay, and that's the significance of that which I've already documented as well. It is currently, again, 9:46 p.m. and the entity that injected this act of harassment and criminal defamation and the threat of criminal summoning, where you don't even have to call the police, like you saw on video today. They are always engaged in surveillance. It's a citywide effort in Ontario, just like it was in L.A., where the entity was gang stalking on April 15, 2024, which is documented on video. 47 minutes of video of pacing like a demon. Like Tracy is, she doesn't have a helicopter. She's on foot pacing in and out of her bedroom, pacing in her bedroom, using her phone as audible activity, and engineered light remains. Okay, this is the P.O.C. This is the documentation that's also going to be used to diagnose her actual mental illness, the actual mental illness of the demon possessed who are engaged in terrorism throughout the United States. As you are recognizing and identifying the psychopathic obsession, because that's what's illustrated when you heard all of this that came out of this demon's mouth. This is somebody that is obsessed with a defeated effort, resorting to even harassment and name calling, which is criminal defamation. And then just getting another demon on the phone while she's pacing around like a psychopath. And remember the mental health patients that are pacing all around inside of their apartments, creating loud, booming noises. They're over 55 years old. And yes, she cannot pay her rent. This is a federally governed property where she gets a portion of her rent paid while she's gang stalking with that same government. It's a HUD regulated property, and she is stalking in violation of the Violence Against Women Act at that as well as the rest of the entity. You are already aware of all the pattern of conduct. You have been witnessing, again, what you just witnessed right now is the entity that goes to such desperate and violent tactics to engage in what is nothing other than distractions. It's not my volume, it's the content of my speech, okay? It is currently 9:48 p.m. and this is the P.O.C. The people of the state are on her communication device like they always are in the same exact specific environment, and the entity is engaging in what is monitoring. I want to be clear, referencing that she's going to tell the world about my documentation while she is engaging in that P.O.C., okay? She doesn't have a P.O.C. channel. She's not publishing to the world. This is the entity that is engaging in that on an ongoing basis. It's 9:48 p.m. and this is P.O.C.
Correct.
And the date of birth?
Her date of birth is 11/14/1983.
Okay, and then what is the address?
It's 408 West.
This is Tracy Banks. I want you to hear her engaging in what is pacing, monitoring with the people that she's calling on the phone. Giving out information that they already know who I am. They're gang stalking. These are the psychopaths. This is the corrupt system in operation. All day long, she's been talking into her phone, calling her out of her name. We have not had any conversations until now. She is the one that started name calling first. And all day long, using your phone, talking into it is the same thing that people do when they're having phone conversations. That's exactly what she's doing now. These are demons who are monitoring together.
She's being very what?
Verbally abusive.
Okay, so is there any suicidal ideation?
No.
This is pacing in and out of the bedroom. She's everything that she just stated, and this is when you're looking at the superficial veneer. These are two demons that are monitoring together. She just referenced everything that you're doing when you're talking on the phone. She's lying, stating that we've been talking all day. We have not. She's been referring to me while I wear headphones. She's the one that engaged in calling me the B word first. She called me out of my name. She engaged in calling me crazy and started saying she was kicking me out. She's the one that engaged in that. Okay, before I started referring to facts, the fact that she's tried to steal my identity, the fact that she's sexually obsessed with me like an incestuous actor, the fact that she's placed cameras in order to look at me nude, unbeknownst to me inside of my apartment in Los Angeles. She's the one that engaged that. She's lying. On top of that, she is monitoring, and she is also referring to that which she is doing right now, talking into her phone and holding it, which has nothing to do with her. If that's what I was doing all day long, it has nothing to do with her while I have not been addressing her all day. Okay, this is P.O.C. though. This is the ongoing entity that seeks to threaten you, that is using, again, the entity that's gang stalking and is engaging in the malicious pattern of conduct. I'm not gang stalking you. I'm just walking by. I'm just in use of my phone. I'm doing the exact same thing while the same entity that the assumption of innocence is afforded to the targeted individual who is fully in operation of their privacy rights and freedom of speech rights while the government themselves are gang stalking you. But I just want to be clear, listen to what it is that she's alleging. She's been holding her phone and talking into it all day long and calling me out of my name, speaking violently toward me or whatever it is that she just stated, and that's a lie. And this is also why you document. This is what the demons did on June 16, 2022. They made up information about me following people into the bathroom. They lied about the fact that I was molesting a child while the entity is engaged in sexual violence. That's what Satan does. While they are engaging in that pattern of conduct, they make those allegations, which you document in order to prove the falsity of it. That's malice. You're not just lying because you feel like it. They're lying because they are gang stalking. And these are also demons who are, again, Satan is the father of lies. All they do is lie. But I want to document this because this is the P.O.C. And remember, this is all started because the video that you can refer to, April 15, 2024 at 6:48 p.m., 47 minutes of the Los Angeles Police Department gang stalking in the same way that the state is still gang stalking right now, okay? And every time, many times when this demon is walking into the apartment, doing so with the amplified audible activity of helicopter, while I am documenting, this is the same psychopath that's referring to what is innocent conduct as far as she's concerned, where there's no gang stalking and there's no monitoring and you don't know what I'm doing on your phone and you're lying about the fact that I was even talking to you today. This is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. Refer to that video evidence and then listen to this tape again. This is why you are going to mental asylums. This level of malice is that which is an unlawful threat by the government. Okay, the government is the one that they're summoning. They're threatening to call the police on you. The government is gang stalking you. And that's the threat where the demon possessed are engaged in criminal summoning as this demon is threatening. When they're waging false allegations while they're gang stalking as this demon committed on via podcast. This is a pattern that I documented. This is exactly what was underway while she was gang stalking with the Ontario police, who are engaged in a documented pattern of creating audible activity while she walks into this apartment where the fake sun rises and sets, this apartment where engineer light is documented in all manners on all the ceilings and walls, and that which is like a circus environment while she is in real time pacing while making false allegations, incriminating herself. Because you're getting past, the entity is not going to rely on these illusions. You're going to prosecute based on the malice that's exhibited while they resort to illusions. You're going to prosecute for that. Excuse me. Very, very probative documentation, though, because that's what actually I want to get down to this. This is what Satan is very fearful of. And I would encourage you, I'm going to reference the video and I'm going to put it back on the front of my YouTube channel. 47 minutes of the LAPD gang stalking me in helicopter, the most spectacular and the highest threat that the entity is posing to you. When the police are gang stalking you, the police are in a position to murder you and then state that it was some sort of accident or that it was someone else, or controlling the facts, in other words, the narrative, where they are gang stalking as law enforcement agencies. This is the same entity that is removing that evidence and is resorting to this high school graduate as a means of trying to distract. That's not a distractant. It's ongoing added corroborating evidence regarding the level of obsession, number one, but also desperation. This is actually fear by a demon who is not too intelligent. She's not, again, somebody that is just treacherous, but not very, I would say, very capable of thinking quite elaborately, or thinking too deeply, or certainly not intellectually or logically, okay? This is what is illustrated by the audible activity that's coming out of her mouth when she's making allegations, which they're not coming out to anything. You basically told them that I was talking on the phone. And not only that, this is exactly what she's doing at the same time. But at the same time, it's an admission because she's monitoring while she's in operation of a communication device in the specific environment and engaging in what is also, when you are analyzing the behavior of the stalker, threatening while you're stalking. And when you're gang stalking, you are very much stalking where you live. That's how the government maintains surveillance on a ceaseless basis. And the government relies on you resorting to referring to them, threatening to call them when they're gang stalking you with them. You get locked up for that. You're not getting out. This is the same entity that's removing evidence off the internet. It's 9:55 p.m. The level of desperation that you're witnessing is directly relevant to how probative that video documentation is, and all of my evidence is. 47 minutes, LAPD stalking in helicopter outside of my apartment where the fake sun is rising and setting in LA, not over units 33 through 48, where the people of the state are gang stalking, and the people of the state just engaged in this very foolish documented act of criminal defamation, of harassment, of domestic terrorism, of psychological torture, and threatening to engage in criminal summoning. Even that's an offense. That's a threat to your liberty, a threat to engage in kidnapping. So the stalker, oh, you're going to call the kidnappers here. So you're, in other words, you're going to summon them. They're already stalking. How sick are you in the head? Their whole illusion is broken apart. You're not calling the police. The police are gang stalking with you. Like you can see on April 15, 2024. And you can also see how rapidly this escalated from Erica be quiet to shut up. Excuse my French, but it's rapidly escalated to shut up, B, to shut up, you're crazy, to shut up and get out. I can't wait till you get out of my life. This is the same person that is engaged in things which are criminal acts, collateral harms, things such as any sort of power of attorney. This is somebody that can't even spell that phrase, doesn't even know what it actually means, just knows that it would give her a fraudulent means of controlling that which belongs to me. She doesn't know what a power of attorney is. And how are you going to have any sort of power of attorney or any size of fraudulently procured means of exercising control or authority over anything that belongs to me, let alone my life, which is actually never the case because I have never reported to this person. I don't ask permission to do anything. I'm a grown woman, and I've been a grown woman and a grown professional. So this has been a secret means while the entity has been gang stalking me the whole time. While they engage in things such as referring to previous acts of kidnapping when you're trying to defame someone, that's nothing other than audible activity, and referring to what is within the P.O.C. They rely on the illusion, criminal defamation. This is why, again, people like Jason Burnett, Jason Knighton is going to federal prison for kidnapping. Jason Isaac Fields is a documented terrorist who is affiliated with this gang stalker, this psychopath who engaged in what is showing the world. In the same way, I guess she's going to publish the video and the light activity that she was creating while she was focused on me and standing right in front of me, yelling out, "Don't touch me," when no one is touching her. She's kidding him. This is a psychopath. This is the type of things that malicious people engage in. The psychopathic personality disorder. And I will go to the extent to document it in order to enforce my rights and also show the ways in which laws must change. This is government action. This is government action. This is not private conduct. This is government action. And it is maliciously underway while they are engaging in what are ongoing obsessive and criminal acts of obstruction. Okay, while this is the entity that is showing how mentally disturbed she is, in fact, it is no reflection on me. Okay, it is currently 9:59 p.m. And that is, again, presumably some act of criminal defamation, but the entity is engaged in the P.O.C. I'm not going to sit up and try to rationalize. I'm just going to document. The entity engages in a bunch of demons that conspire based on what they think is known, based on what's documented. That's how they make decisions on what they're going to do next. And when they're convinced that they'll get away with it, then they execute. You're going to document all of that. This is government action. And it's 9:59 p.m. and this demon is, I'm not yelling, this demon is keeping their door open. This demon is wide awake, pacing. This demon is fanatical because she's upset because I am not going to stop documenting while you are gang stalking me. And I'm also not going to be quiet from documenting what it is that you have committed. I want to be clear. This is Satan that does not have actual authority at all. Okay, so this is what the issue is here. This is a false sense of ego, a false sense of understanding who you are and what authority you have, a false sense of thinking that you can conceal the psychopath that you are, the pervert that you are, the demented person that you are. Literally, you're just a gang member. You rely on other people to help you engage in your sick behaviors. And that is speaking to, again, a reflection on that person, not me. And it would be the same with you. Okay, so it's currently 10 p.m. I want to document that. That was the entity referring to what are absolutely harmless acts. facts, while they engage in what is gang stalking in the ways in which they presuppose, they surmise, they anticipated at the outset of gang stalking would be appearing as something that is innocent, but it's not. The entity is engaged in what is gang stalking in the specific environment in the same way that the targeted individual is going to document it, and you remain in full rights under the Constitution. The government that is targeting you in order to murder and kidnap you is not going to then legislate about your ability to expose them. And this is why the entity that is gang stalking is federally restrained from ever coming into your presence. People like Jason Isaac Fields, people like, again, this is Tracy Banks, who's going to a mental asylum when she's prosecuted. Her psychopathic audible activity creation, her psychopathic pacing, her psychopathic defamatory conduct. She's nothing other than enraged because she cannot get me to stop documenting, and she's not going to control that. Neither will she stop the wheels of justice. That's not going to go in her favor, nor will that slow down either. This is the entity that is all speaking. I want to be clear. One demon speaks for all of them, because they are all under the fakes and they're all in engineer like gang stalking together. One demon tells a lie. All they do is all jump on it together. One demon is amplifying audible activity. All they're doing is pacing all around you in the engineer light together. One demon speaks and they are speaking as one, and they will be prosecuted accordingly. They all engaged in criminal defamation. They all engaged in threatening criminal summoning. They all engaged in what is trying to threaten and intimidate while you're referring to what is absolutely lawful behavior. All right. And the entity is doing so because they're intending to obstruct justice, while I'm referring to evidence about how they obstruct justice, wanting to detract from. They removed evidence from what is exercising control over my YouTube channel, removing videos from playlists where it is organized and consistent evidence about what's going on right now amongst the unintelligent demons. OK, she's a lower level, unsophisticated demon who just hurls out insults while she's gang stalking. The entity that's gang stalking through law enforcement does it through what you see LAPD doing, pacing around like a psychopath in helicopter while the hillside is covered in engineer light. And then you're going to look at the evidence that I documented today while the fake sun is documented for the duration of the day, like I'm documenting on an ongoing basis. And that is the maniacal psychopath that is gang stalking inside of Unit 51 on behalf and in concert with the state. It's 10:02 p.m. This is substantial evidence documented regarding what is harassment and terrorism. And I want to be clear, I am not mincing words. Anyone affiliated or associated with the Jason Isaac Fields, this is somebody, and every other gang stalker, she's gang stalking with Eric Corey Spencer. All she does is call them on the phone. It's a different demon, different face. Okay, so she's gang stalking with an entity. All she's doing is getting someone on the phone because this demon needs somebody. This is what demons do. They need a partner. They need an associate. They can't do it by themselves. Okay, this is somebody that is relying on someone else, and that's what they do on their communication devices. In other words, Jason Isaac Fields, Shanita Romaya McLean, Eric Corey Spencer, everybody else that I have documented by name, in addition to what is the entity itself. But those that I have documented that I know by name, they are federally restrained from ever being in your presence, those that are not going to federal prison. But if I know your name and I documented you, you engaged in any acts of criminal defamation in the courts, you have abused your position in government, you don't have any right to ever be in my presence, and I will never be associated or affiliated with you while I'm documenting you right now. The federal government is monitoring me to this right now. The federal government is threatening my liberty right now. Understand that. It's not different because the federal government is ostensibly, supposedly, allegedly, purportedly conducting a federal investigation while the threat level doesn't decrease. The harassment, the criminal defamation, the ongoing psychological torture and warfare does not decrease. So you're talking about what is the entity itself distinguishing amongst itself? Or we were gang stalking or in promoting and facilitating it for this purpose and we were doing it for this purpose over here? There is no difference. And it is an equal threat that no American citizen shall be subject to. And I will be not only enforcing my rights, I will be advocating on how any government shall conduct itself when it is exposed for this level of public corruption that enables high school graduates, degenerates, like what you witnessed, monitoring me inside of this apartment, to even engage in one day of successfully gang stalking somebody else. Okay, it's 10:04 p.m. This is on April 7, 2025. This is P.O.C. All right, I want to make sure that the message is not lost. And again, what you just listened to is a government actor. This is a state actor, and everything that is spoken is not. All All right, I want to make sure that the message is not lost. And again, what you just listened to is a government actor. This is a state actor, and everything that is spoken is not only monitoring, it's not only criminal, it is state action. And the entity, the federal government itself, is very much with unclean hands and is in a position to be and remain duplicitous. So the same entity that is gang stalking throughout the United States is targeting me, is also in a very much of the position and interested in suppressing the evidence that I'm pointing to. The April 15, 2024 video documentation of the Los Angeles Police Department, which is the state, the same entity that is gang stalking through the very, elaborate demonstration of demon possession, just flying in a circle, which is pacing, that's accomplished in a helicopter. This is a very severely mentally ill person that is stalking for 47 minutes while pacing in the engineered light and relevant position, and it is amplified inside of my apartment, which is what I document on video. The entity, the government itself, is duplicitous with regard to that is being interested and even resorting to the use of this gang stalker inside of the apartment in order to stop me from speaking what I'm saying at the same time. So understand that these are demons, and this is public corruption, and this is spiritually significant. This is demonic activity, as I am prosecuting it in the natural with evidence that you can see. You clearly could see the gang stalking in video, the evidence as I'm speaking to that's being manipulated on my website. The same government that is, again, engaged in surveillance online, accessing evidence that's published online, wanting to suppress it while at the same time it's intentionally and deliberately not given exposure. Okay, these are all the coexisting facts, and this entity, the government, is very much duplicitous. And so that's always relevant with regard to at justice, when receiving justice, and those that would put themselves in a position where they are interested in actually doing justice. And you're always mindful of these facts, these details. This is somebody that's not only speaking as, again, this is just some random ratchet that can't control herself and cannot pay her own rent. This is somebody that is speaking as a state actor. And again, even through the uncivilized, thug-like, hostile, ignorant type manner of engaging in the elements of monitoring, this is state speech, and this is serving a purpose to stop me from speaking about what the government is engaging in. And it is a suppression. It's oppression, yes, but it's suppression of evidence in the form of removing evidence from the playlist where they're organized and easily found, which is an unlawful intrusion in an ongoing federal investigation, especially when the federal government itself is engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct. Not only that, this is somebody that is engaging in the P.O.C. and is serving the government's interest that is still targeting me. And so I just want to make sure that that's not missed. Okay, federal group stalking monitoring is underway as of April 7, 2025, because the same government is still monitoring. Okay, so I just want to make sure that this isn't something that seemed, this is very murky, and this is always to be understood. And what I've been stating from the beginning, the government has unclean hands, and the demons that would like to, on the one hand, assert themselves, or you can't establish yourself when you're monitoring me. You can't assert yourself as any sort of hero. You're a gang stalker. You're a documented terrorist, and you remain that way. Where the government permits such a filthy person to muddy up a quote-unquote investigation, where duplicitous actors like the government are monitoring and harassing in order to silence. Okay, but of course that didn't work. I still got through the documentation, and you're also witnessing real-time demonic activity by somebody that just wants you to shut up, not because of my volume, not because she's not going to sleep. She doesn't sleep. That's why she has gigantic bags under her eyes. She does not sleep. Neither does any gang-stalking demon. These are demons. I document this about the demon in Unit 55. Very energetic, never abandons my position on the couch in the living room. Neither does the fake sun move during the duration of the day. Going from one side of the building to the opposite is not moving. That's not the sun. They are desperately, diligently, and obsessively monitoring and gang stalking. This is somebody that used that as a means to harass based on the content of what these demons know I'm speaking, and it's serving the corrupt government's purposes. I don't want that to be missed. Okay, it's 10:23 p.m. P.O.C.